Once again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Rensselaer and Houston Fieldhouse for Autism Awareness Night and tonight's ECAC matchup between the Skating Saints of St. Lawrence University and your Engineers of Rensselaer. Let's meet tonight's starting lineups. First, the visitors from St. Lawrence, starting in the goal, number 30, Daniel Manella. At left defense, number 2, Dylan Wolf. At right defense for the Saints, number 4, Cameron White. The starting forward line for St. Lawrence, at left wing, number 26, Mike Marnell. At center, number 20, Joe Sullivan. And at right wing, number 18, Jacob Pritchard. The rest of the St. Lawrence Saints, their head coach is Mark Morris. And now let's meet the starting lineup for the Engineers of RPI. And leading your Engineers on the ice tonight, please welcome the junior engineer, Ben Barna. Starting in the goal is a freshman from Victoria, British Columbia, number 1, Lyndon Marshall. At left defense, a senior from Calgary, Alberta, number 13, Jared Wilson. At right defense, he's a senior from Oakville, Ontario, number 19, Mike Prapavesis. The starting forward line for the Engineers, a senior from Stockholm, Sweden, number 12, Victor Liljegren. At center is a junior from St. Mary's, Ontario, number 21, Brady Whiffen. And at right wing for RPI is a sophomore from Buffalo, New York, number 29, Patrick Polino. The rest of the Engineers, their head coach is Dave Smith, assistant coaches Nolan Graham and Dan Jewell. Ladies and gentlemen, we direct your attention to center ice. The National Grid Foundation has joined RPI in the Shoot for the Stars program, designed to motivate elementary school students by rewarding them with tickets to Rensselaer men's or women's ice hockey games. At center ice are student achievers from the Troy City School District, new Rensselaer County Executive, the Honorable Steve McLaughlin, Executive Director of National Grid Foundation, Ed White, Senior Advancement Officer, Deborah Chesky, and Associate Vice President of Student Life and the Director of Athletics, Dr. Lee McElroy. They'll be joined by St. Lawrence University's hockey captain, Joe Sullivan, and RPI's men's hockey captain, Victor Liljegren. Thank you, and let's have another round of applause for these great young student achievers. Now we ask that you please rise for the playing of the national anthems of Canada and the United States of America. RPI Hockey would like to thank all the fans for your support of our annual Autism Awareness Game. And we'd like to welcome
just
the
a reminder
Albany
to our
Autism
listeners,
Society of the Greater
WRPI is on
Capital
the World
Region.
Wide Web. Point your browser to WRPI.org, and you can pick up WRPI's broadcast 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so long as WRPI is broadcasting. We'll provide the broadcast on our internet feed. Once again, that is WRPI.org.
This is 91.5 FM WRPI Troy. Tom Reel and Joseph Pisacano with you on the call from the Houston Fieldhouse. We're getting ready for ECAC hockey action between the RPI Engineers and the St. Lawrence Saints. RPI in their home whites with red shoulders and red and black trim. St. Lawrence in their road reds. St. Lawrence across the front with red, white, and brown trim. Brown breezers is their style. 20 minutes are on the board. The Engineers will be skating from right to left across your radio dial here in period number 1. And RPI starts off with Brady Whiffen taking the draw against Joe Sullivan, and the Saints win the draw back into their own end. Dylan Wolf, one of the 4 freshman defensemen starting tonight for St. Lawrence, loses it in the neutral zone. RPI brings it back, but it's quickly punched out back to center. And here comes Marnell into the zone, but he's offsides. Pritchard was about 2 steps off and facing the blue line.
Yeah, a little bit of a sloppy play from both sides to start there as the puck was sort of bouncing all over the ice, but a nice shot by Mike Prapavesis to hold up Slew at the blue line.
Face off just outside the RPI zone, also one back, this time too far for Wolf to collect, and he has to go all the way back down into his end to try and grab it. RPI forechecking does a good job of keeping the pressure on and keeping the puck down in the attacking zone. Liljegren comes up with it. Into for Whiffen. Now over for Polino on the far side. Polino skating around, trying to get past his man, tries to dish it off to Wilson, but it's Pritchard. First one there for St. Lawrence. Centering opportunity by Wilson goes right onto the stick of Cameron White. Now a shot by Liljegren is saved by Manella, and he covers up for the whistle.
Yeah, just on that first shift there, Patrick Polino's speed is causing all sorts of trouble for the St. Lawrence defensemen as they're scrambling all over the ice, trying to figure out who is covering him. Patrick Polino is just skating very well tonight.
Face off to the right of Manella, won by St. Lawrence. Alfberg with a D-to-D pass behind his own net. Now the pass ahead into the neutral zone. Jasevich is trying to move it forward. And it ends up back out to center. And that's going to be on net for Manella to have to deal with, so there's no icing on the Engineers. Good forecheck pressure ends up on the stick of Emil Orval. And a quick shot from the point by Billy Jerry is blocked down. That was Gokowski on the block. Now here comes St. Lawrence the other way. Pass through the slot, shot by Law, and it's saved by Lyndon Marshall. No rebound. About a minute and a half into period number 1, no score between RPI and St. Lawrence. And
a little bit of a blind dump there by TJ Samet coming in, skating forward rather towards his own net. Just sort of tried backhanding the puck out of his own zone, and it landed right on the tape of a forechecking St. Lawrence player, and that shot was able to get off.
Gilmore and Hayhurst face off to the left of Marshall. Engineers win it and move it puck out to center. Reisinger has the pass bounce off of his stick, and back to collect it for St. Lawrence is Jake Stevens, the freshman out of Naperville, Illinois. RPI back with it now behind the St. Lawrence net. Hayhurst trying to get it up to the point, but it's picked up instead by Alex Gilmore. Gets it out of the zone momentarily. Now it's White for St. Lawrence back in the St. Lawrence end. Moving across the logo is White. He'll just send it down into the RPI zone. And a couple of players go flying on the near side. It's RPI who comes away with it, but Ryan Garvey, St. Lawrence forward, went absolutely flying, as did his stick. St. Lawrence bringing it out of their own end. Chasing after it is Calvin Cusinato. And the Engineers with it along the far boards. Cross ice pass to Wilson, moving up the near side. He goes into the zone. Forgot the puck, so Morello has to go and collect it along the RPI bench. Now Prapavesis moves it to Jesper Orval on the far side. He has it taken off of his stick and goes onto the stick of Lakowski. They're going to whistle this down. I think they're going to call RPI offsides before the puck was moved.
Yeah, Jesper Orval looked like he wasn't sure whether he wanted to pass or to dump it in. It sort of was a little bit of just a hesitated dump in that resulted in an RPI skater going off a little too early.
17-12 left in period number 1. No score between RPI and St. Lawrence. And the upcoming face-off is going to be between Joe Sullivan and Brady Whiffen. Both teams with their starting lines out there. Sullivan wins it back for Dylan Wolf. Puck goes in from along the RPI bench, taken there by the Engineers. That is Riley trying to move it forward. Now Polino does get an opportunity. He comes 2-on-2 with Liljegren. Edges off to Liljegren on the near side. Liljegren takes a shot, saved by Manella off of his glove. The rebound picked up by St. Lawrence. Sullivan trying to move the puck out of the zone. Kept in by Liljegren for just a moment, but it's on the stick of a St. Lawrence player. And now Pritchard moves it into the RPI end. He has it taken off his stick by Samek. Riley picks it up, dishes to Samek behind the RPI net. Head man pass for Liljegren. He just tips it in front of the red line into the zone. RPI changes. Stevens throws it over into the far corner of his own zone. That puck comes back over to Alfberg. Now moving through the neutral zone is Ederer. He brings it in, loses the handle on it, and goes over into the far corner of the RPI end. Engineers come up with it. Mears Moore, junior out of Duluth, Minnesota. That's it up for Emil Orval near his own blue line. Orval trying to get away from the forecheck pressure by Law. Brings it across the logo, but he brings it in offsides as he was momentarily held up near the blue line, and that caused the Engineers to be offsides.
Yeah, just a slight delay caused there by the SLU defense forced Billy Jerry to skate in a little too early. But the Engineers are playing pretty solid so far here to start the game. A lot of simple, just quality hockey from the Engineers.
Face-off won by the Engineers just outside the attacking zone. Mears Moore moves it across the RPI logo, dumps it off for Burgess, but the Engineers again coming offsides.
Yeah, and it looks like they're going to get Ressinger for the offsides call. He's not happy about it, trying to argue his case, but good play there by Mears Moore, trying to get a give and go there with Hayhurst, as Mears Moore is one of those defensemen that likes to hop up in the play and create offense.
This time Gilmore gets the better of Hayhurst at the face-off circle. Here comes Wolf, gets to the red line and dumps into the far corner. Grant is the first one there. Moore tries to power it out, but it pops loose into the slot, and a turnaround shot by Southers goes into the far corner. Now another shot that's blocked by Hayhurst. Puck bouncing around in the slot now. RPI is the first to come away with it. Mears Moore brings it over to the corner, but it's picked up by the Saints. Passing opportunity by Gilmore is blocked. Now a battle for it in the near corner as Southers goes down. That's a lot of player go down. The 6'8" freshman is on the ice, and a penalty coming up on the Engineers, I believe. A tripping call. Is this on RPI? No, it's on St. Lawrence.
Yeah, that's on.
Southers was taken down, but it looked like maybe a retaliation move by Ryan Garvey, the sophomore freshman, or sophomore forward, I should say. Sophomore freshman, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, Southers was taken down by a player that's almost a foot shorter than Mears Moore, and that just comes down to toughness. Just a tough puck battle in the corner there that Mears Moore won.
So RPI to the power play. This season they are 13.8% on the man advantage. That's 13 for 94. St. Lawrence 77 for 102 on the penalty kill, 75.5% as the Engineers win the faceoff. Hayhurst dumps down low. Now a quick shot by Liljegren that's snapped up by Vamela. No rebound.
That was beautiful, just tic-tac-toe from the Engineer power play. Just Manella having the better of Liljegren, but the Engineers won the faceoff. Actually a broken stick on the play, and then sent it down low, and then right into the slot for Liljegren to power that.
Hayhurst is out there with Liljegren and Emil Orval, with Riley and Prapavesis on the defense. Puck gets one backwards, but splits the D and goes all the way down ice, so RPI has to give chase. Marnell is forechecking for St. Lawrence. He comes away with the puck behind the RPI net. Some good pressure by the St. Lawrence senior. He brings it all the way back into the St. Lawrence end as they just play a little keep away from the Engineers. And now it's slapped all the way back down ice and on net. So Marshall leaves it off for Prapavesis. Now Riley up for Hayhurst, trying to get out of the zone. Good forecheck pressure by St. Lawrence on this penalty kill. And here comes Rosenberg, gets around his man, cuts to the net, and decides to turn around. He didn't have much of an angle. Riley on the blue line, over to Prapavesis on the near side. St. Lawrence defenseman without a stick. Riley takes a shot that goes through everything and just misses the net on the left side and goes into the far corner. Puck gets dumped over for Prapavesis, who has to get around the broken stick. Now Orval to Hayhurst along the far boards. Hayhurst get back up to the point for Riley. Riley to Prapavesis along the near boards. Back to Riley. Riley walks to the top of the slot, and a shot's taken by Hayhurst. That hit somebody in front of the net. The Engineers still on top of it. Riley looking to the top. Hayhurst goes to a knee and takes a shot, but he didn't get all of it and goes into the corner instead. Emil Orval with 37 seconds left on the power play fights for it in the corner by the Zamboni door with Cameron White on top of him. Victor Rilligren now fighting, and Emil Orval comes away with it. Prapavesis is wide open. He takes the pass. Now Riley at the top of the slot. That's blocked by Ederer, and it goes out of the zone. Some good pressure by the Engineers, but some equally decent penalty killing work by the Saints, who had a defenseman without a stick for a good minute there. 10 seconds left on the penalty to Garvey. The Engineers looking to move forward for one more rush. Here's an opportunity for Wilson. Gets in for Whiffen, who kind of pops it up in the air. It comes down in the glove of Daniel Manella, and that will do it for the RPI power play. 13:09 left in period number 1. RPI and St. Lawrence tied at 0.
Yeah, some very good chances there from the Engineer power play. Lots of opportunity in the low slot, not just taking point shots that they're hoping for deflections. They're getting them down low for some point blank opportunities. But the St. Lawrence goaltender, Daniel Manella, has been absolutely phenomenal for them here tonight.
RPI wins the face-off in the attacking zone. Wilson sends it down low for Whiffen. Whiffen in the near corner. He's fighting for it with Jake Stevens. Both players get a little bit of help, and coming away with it is Gilmore for St. Lawrence. Good pressure by RPI, takes the puck back. Shot into the slots, picked up quickly by Stevens. Now Stevens trying to get himself around Max Reisinger, who's forechecking very well. Puck behind the St. Lawrence net up to Garvey at the blue line. He's still trying to move the puck forward. RPI with some good pressure, throwing some bodies around as Wilson hits Suthers. 6'8" player for St. Lawrence has already been the target of a couple of hits. Now a shot by Grant has put it on Manella for the save. And the puck goes behind the net, where it's taken by Stevens. And Nolan Glakowski, the lone senior on the D-corps tonight for St. Lawrence, moves the puck up for Gilmore. Gilmore into the zone. That's taken off his stick by Jesper Orval. He's trying to get the puck grabbed as St. Lawrence was in the middle of a line change. They were fortunate that the puck didn't touch any of them. RPI ends up going back into their own zone to collect themselves until Samek puts the puck into the RPI bench. So we'll have a whistle with 11:57 remaining in period number 1 and no score.
Yeah, the Engineer forecheck has really been good here tonight, as Max Reisinger especially has been able to cause all sorts of trouble behind Manella. Several turnovers that have allowed the Engineers to have extended time in the offensive zone and thus extended chances to score.
Shots are 5-1 in favor of the Engineers here about midway through the first frame, as the face-off at center ice is won back to RPI. Riley tries to get it to Tiernies along his own blue line. Picked up by St. Lawrence and sent down into the zone. Samek is back to collect for RPI. Now moving forward is Billy Jerry. Across the blue line into the attacking zone. 2-on-1 if he maneuvers properly. He takes a shot, goes just wider than the cage. Tiernies just backhands it towards the net. And that gets cleared down ice by St. Lawrence, and icing on the Saints.
Good thinking there by Tiernies when he had the puck behind his net. Just toss it out into the slot. Maybe someone will have a stick there and it'll bounce in. That's just heads up play there from Evan Tiernies.
The officials in tonight's contest, Brad LeBlanc and Cameron Lynch are the referees. Christopher Peaty and Matt Brady are the linesmen as Brady prepares to drop the puck in the St. Lawrence zone. Sullivan on Hayhurst. RPI wins the face-off. Prapavesis at the blue line. Looks, takes a shot, and it gets all the way in on Manella, and there is no rebound.
A little bit of frustration here from Joe Sullivan, the St. Lawrence captain, after getting sort of shoved around at the blue line on a previous play and then having to battle Jacob Hayhurst in the slot. on that last play. He's starting to get a little frustrated with the forecheck and the aggressiveness of the Engineers tonight.
RPI again wins the faceoff. Back to Prapavessis. Looks up, takes another shot. That's gloved down by Manila. That was almost the exact same sequence as we just saw in the last draw.
Yeah, and it's a good idea there from Prapavessis, just getting the point shot off and hoping for a deflection.
That's RPI's 7th shot on goal of the first period, and we're not quite halfway through.
A lot more shots than they had in the last game in the first period.
RPI wins. Back to Prapavessis. Now he moves to Wilson, who takes a shot. That's saved by Manila as well. So RPI blasting away from the blue line after winning faceoffs in the attacking zone. That's what you want to do. And that's certainly what RPI's modus operandi is to take some shots. And when you win offensive zone faceoffs, it gives you the opportunity to take shots. They're taking them. They're just not getting anything past the St. Lawrence sophomore.
Yeah, he's stood tall here so far. About 9 minutes into the game.
This time the faceoff comes to the other side of Manila, and St. Lawrence wins the draw, allowing them to move the puck out of the zone. Here comes St. Lawrence behind the RPI cage. Alfberg trying to keep it in at the point. Now Liljegren streaking forward, trying to get some momentum. It's picked off by Nielsen. Jacob Nielsen trying to move the puck, and ends up on the near side for Gleekel. And back over to Nielsen on the far side. St. Lawrence just cannot get the puck through center at the moment, and the RPI forecheck doing a good job of bottling up St. Lawrence as they try to move.
Nielsen's first collegiate game here tonight.
Behind the RPI cage is Mike Prapavessis. He'll shuffle it off to Grant, who was looking for Polino along the St. Lawrence bench, but didn't go to his stick. Manila wanted an icing call, but it was waved off, and St. Lawrence grabs the puck and moves forward. Shot by Gilmore, goes over into the corner after he was saved by Marshall. Now RPI on it. Jake Morello dishes it off to Burke. Burke goes over the blue line. Burke still on the puck, taking it around the St. Lawrence net. On the far side now, tries to pass to Morello. It's blocked by Wolf. And now Jesper Orval on top of it. He takes a tight angle shot. Initial save, puck is loose, but it's scooped up by Garvey and into the corner. Good defensive play by the sophomore forward. Now back to Samick. Brings it up for Jesper Orval on the slot. He whiffs on it. Samick now with an opportunity. Takes a shot through traffic. Goes just to the left of the cage. And that'll carry him out of the zone. RPI has to go back and recover in the neutral zone. Riley tries to move the puck and he whiffs on the pass. And that's just going to get sent down in by Jake Morello as RPI decides for a line change. St. Lawrence looking to move out of their zone. Still can't get it through the neutral zone. It's intercepted by Samick on the logo. Now some space for St. Lawrence to operate as Garvey gains the red line, but his team was in the middle of a change at the time, so they'll just send that down into the RPI end. Billy Jerry is the first onto it for the Engineers. Passes for Emil Orval, a little too hot to handle. St. Lawrence looks to move the other way. Pritchard dumps it behind the RPI net into the far corner. Jerry and Samick there for RPI. Now a loose puck is quickly shot by Sullivan. That was a bad turnover by the Engineers right near their net. Now Pritchard takes a turn and shoot. That goes wide of the cage. And now Marnell on the far side. This is St. Lawrence's dangerous scoring line, their top line of talented, experienced players. They're doing a better job of controlling the puck. Pass looking for Marnell behind the net, who's being dogged by Prapavessis. As Marnell turns about 3 times trying to get around him. Now he's on the far side, still trying to get around Prapavessis. He'll just dish it off for Sullivan, who puts one off the inside of the post. Nice shot by Sullivan, but nothing coming of it as it comes into the into the near corner. And Emil Orval is first there, and he'll just lift that up and let it drop into the St. Lawrence zone. It was a good move by the RPI freshman to try and get a line change without icing the puck. Wilson's going to try a headman pass for Reisinger. It was intercepted by Jasevich. Now St. Lawrence looking to move the puck out of their own end. Cameron White up for Jasevich. Can't control the pass. It goes to Marshall behind the net. Wilson up for Reisinger. Dishes quickly to Hayhurst. Hayhurst moves in across the line. Takes a off-balance shot that goes well wide of the net. St. Lawrence recovers. Michael Ederer moving the puck forward. Goes into the near corner in the RPI end. Hayhurst behind his own net. Grabs control of it and looks to move with it. Passes it up to Burgess across the logo. Takes a shot, goes over the cage. And now here come the Saints. Michael Laidley tries to pass up ahead for Callum Cusinado. They lose the handle on it, and Burgess has it by the far side. He turns the puck over in the defensive zone. And Cade Gleekle, forward out of Golden Valley, Minnesota, was the one that ended up with it on his stick. So an opportunity now for St. Lawrence in the attacking zone. Gleekle on the near side. Penalty coming up, and it's going to be on the Engineers, I believe. As Cameron Lynch making the call here. A hooking call coming down, and the RPI penalty bench is open, and the St. Lawrence penalty bench is open. I guess they've changed their mind, as it's a penalty on Callum Cusinado for hooking. I thought for sure it was an RPI penalty, but nevertheless, RPI going back on the power play.
Yeah, and except for that one shift against the top line of St. Lawrence, the Engineers for most of the game have been doing a nice job of keeping the St. Lawrence forecheck at bay. They've done a really nice job of just keeping the, as soon as the St. Lawrence tries to forecheck and get the puck behind the red line, the defensemen are there to get it up to the forwards that are waiting where they should be at the points, and the centermen at right in the slot. So they're staying in their positions, and they're getting the pucks out of their own zone quickly into the neutral zone, and then skating them into the offensive zone to create equal opportunity, to create very good opportunities for their offense.
So we talked a little bit before the game about the pros that St. Lawrence had coming into this game, and that top line of Marnell, Sullivan, and Pritchard, and they seem to really have the best opportunities when those three guys are out there on the ice. In fact, the only times that we've seen St. Lawrence holding the RPI zone for any extended amount of time is when those three guys are out there. You've got a line made up of two seniors and a junior, and really the rest of the team is very, very young. So I think that's really the trio that RPI is going to be looking to stop today on offense for St. Lawrence.
And here's that top line now as we speak.
Face-off in the St. Lawrence zone as RPI starts their power play. 0 for 1 so far tonight. They win the face-off. Hayhurst has it on the near side, back to Riley on the blue line, back to Hayhurst. Liljegren takes a shot from the middle of the slot, that's scooped up by Manella, who has looked very strong here in the first period for St. Lawrence.
And Victor Liljegren is shaking his stick in a bit of frustration, as Manella has just had the Engineers' number here tonight on that power play. The same play, getting it down low to Hayhurst and then sending it into the slot for a one-timer from Liljegren.
Manella making his 5th consecutive start, and in his first 4 starts, the St. Lawrence Saints have a 4-game unbeaten streak. Engineers win the faceoff. Riley at the point, takes a shot, goes off bodies in front and bounces into the corner where it's picked up by Hayhurst. Hayhurst has it taken off the stick by Law and is sent out to center. Yeah, we'll have to go back to regroup. Liljegren is on it behind his own net. Leaves it for Prapavesis, who leaves it for Riley. Riley will move the puck forward as RPI looks to break out. Prapavesis dumps the puck in at the blue line. Manella goes behind to collect it. We'll just try to send it over to the far side. Kept in by Riley. Manella slips, but RPI wasn't able to take advantage of it. They're still passing the puck around. Riley to Hayhurst. Hayhurst takes a shot that bounces up over the net. I think somebody in front might have got a piece of that, if not the Saints netminder, and that gets cleared all the way down the ice, right on net. Marshall has to stop it. Riley will go behind his own net as RPI changes up their power play unit. 53 seconds remaining on the man advantage. Evan Tyrannese now. Over to Whiffen along the RPI bench. Whiffen sends it down low. Burgess now has it in the Zamboni corner. Picked up by the Saints and sent down ice again, where Marshall has to stop the puck just to the right of the net. Jared Wilson will bring the RPI power play unit back up ice with 26 seconds left on the man advantage. Whiffen brings it in on the near side. He's being harassed by Dylan Wolf. Now a battle behind the net. RPI picks it up. Wilson over across to Tyrannese, who has to stop it. Now takes a shot, and that's right into the glove of Manella, who saw that one pretty well.
Yeah, and that's pretty much been the story here tonight for the Engineers, as Manella has just had their number, stopping their 12th shot now. And so the Engineers still trying to figure a way to find the chink in the armor of Daniel Manella.
Good goaltending can take you a long way, and his insertion has certainly given this Saints team new life at just about the wrong time for the Engineers, as they've They're facing them again tonight. RPI wins the faceoff. Wilson takes a shot, goes through traffic, hits the back of the back boards. Polino back over to Grant, who takes a shot. Manella falls down, and the faceoff's going to be sent out of the zone. I think just for some players in the crease as the RPI power play expires. That was a little bit of a dangerous play. Manella got his skates tangled up. I think not just in Brady Whiffin's skates, but Cameron White's as well. And that's going to send the face-off. I think they want it out of the zone with 4:38 left in period number 1.
Yes, and speaking of good goaltending, Lyndon Marshall in that game against Harvard had a career-high 45 saves.
So RPI riding some hot goaltending as well. As RPI wins the face-off and gets it back into the zone. Burke couldn't control it in the near corner. And now a battle on the far side. RPI comes away with it. Burke looking up, curls around and takes a shot that got held up at the stick level. And now Garvey's going to bring it forward for St. Lawrence. Here's Moore's first one to it behind his own net. Now on top of it is Jake Morello. Dishes behind him for Grant. Grant was looking for Burke on the pass, but hit a couple of sticks at first, and it ends up in the zone. Now opportunity at point blank as Morello went behind the net, ended up on the stick of, I think that was Jesper Orval, who had a wide open cage with the puck right in front of it. And somebody got a stick over there pretty quick. I don't think it was, I don't think it was Manella, but.
We're going to have to take a look at that replay. That was...
I'm not sure how he was unable to score there.
Manella or the defenseman.
So Manella came and played it right, really just over to Jesper Orval, and a nice diving play by the defenseman. That was Dylan Wolf. Kept it out of the zone. Now a shot by Wilson, who's saved by Manella. Polino now with it on the near side. RPI was that close to breaking open off of a bad puck movement by Manella behind his own net. Wilson now with some space, takes a shot, and all kinds of bodies in the crease. They're just trying to do whatever they can to get in front of Daniel Manella. Several people went sprawling out. And Polino was on the ice. We have Brady Whiffin on the ice. Manella was on the ice.
And the referee has now come over to Coach Smith, maybe to talk to him about getting his players to stop trying to jump in front of Manella, as that was Polino. Polino looked like he sort of got shoved into Manella from the St. Lawrence defenseman.
The physical game is absolutely picking up in front of the St. Lawrence crease.
Yes, and Jesper Orval just feeling absolutely snake-bitten right now after just missing the wide open net.
You really have to give full marks to Dylan Wolf for that move. The freshman defenseman out of Victoria, Minnesota, was the only thing that has this game still scoreless with 3:27 left in period number 1. Both coaches are kind of getting some discussions from the officials, and I think it definitely has to do with the physicality in front of Daniel Manella, which has led to 2 or 3 whistles now here in the first period. RPI looking to break out of their own end. Emil Orval brings it into the zone. He'll just shuffle that down into the corner where it's picked up by Cameron White. And Pritchard has it taken off of his stick as the RPI forecheck continues. Tierney's is trying to pressure the puck, and Kraftovets is just able to keep it in. St. Lawrence still looking for a way out of their own end. Sullivan gets it ahead for Pritchard. They finally get out. Pritchard looked to whip that on net from just at the blue line, but fanned on it. RPI takes over. Emil Orval will tip it into the zone. Comes back to Samek, who pinches in from the point to send it down low for Emil Orval, who lets it run into the far corner. Marnell is on it for St. Lawrence. RPI still pushing forward, though, on the forecheck. Coming away with it is Hayhurst, who is the victim of a good back check by Marnell, and he brings it out of the zone. Marnell is just going to dump it down, and St. Lawrence wants a change. Riley looking to move out of his own end. Now St. Lawrence with some good forecheck pressure. Leakel sends it behind the net. And Alftberg will pinch in for St. Lawrence, try to keep it in, and he's successful. Now the puck goes back to the point, jumps over the stick of Nolan Bukowski, ends up out of the zone, so bad break for St. Lawrence as their lone senior defenseman unable to keep the puck in the zone. Samick in his own end. Only one forechecker for St. Lawrence. RPI able to get around him. Burgess sends it in at the blue line. First on it is Alfberg. Now it's up ahead for Nielsen, Jacob Nielsen, freshman forward out of New Berlin, Wisconsin, sends it in on net. Marshall sticks it aside. Reisinger along his own bench will just send that in. White dishes off to Wolf behind his own net. Here comes Jasevich for St. Lawrence across the blue line, but it looks like Ryan Law was just a step offside on the near side.
And again, the Engineers just continuing to get out of their own defensive zone quicker and quicker. Passes have been tape to tape, and that's exactly what you want to see from your team against the St. Lawrence team. You want to see confidence, and right now the Engineers, all four lines are oozing confidence.
Shots are 14-4 in favor of the Engineers. Shot attempts right now 27-8 in favor of RPI. So those Corsi numbers looking pretty good for RPI here in the first period. But there's still no score as we approach 1 minute left in the opening 20. Liljegren first down for the Engineers as they wave off icing. Now it's on the stick of Prapavesis, who takes a shot. That was blocked. Now Prapavesis looks to just backhand it back into the zone, but it goes off with another skate, and the Engineers just send it down in as they change behind the play. Wolf moving it forward for Garvey. Garvey had it taken off his stick after trying to move the puck to Marnell. Now RPI with it in their own end. Prapavesis dishes it for Riley. Riley through, and it's just tipped along by Jerry into the zone. Tierney's is chasing. Now Tierney's on top of it with Sullivan and White in there to get in the way. St. Lawrence brings it into the neutral zone with 22 seconds left in the first period. Still no score between RPI and St. Lawrence. Picked off by Riley. He brings it into the zone. Tierney fakes a shot, moves around his man, takes a shot, and a goal by the Engineers as a tip in by Billy Jerry puts RPI ahead 1-0 with 11.8 seconds remaining in period number 1.
Yes, and Billy Jerry had a phenomenal shift. After Whippen sort of got off late from a delay from the St. Lawrence player, Billy Jerry finally got onto the ice and used his long stick to sort of just continue to forecheck and tap at the St. Lawrence players trying to get through their neutral zone, and he just kept the puck in the neutral zone before letting Will Riley take it and skate it right in to get it to Tierney's, and then to back to him for the easy tap-in.
And some good moves by Tierney's to get himself free of his defender as well and put himself in position for that pass. So really some nice play by the RPI junior to set up freshman Billy Jerry for the game's opening goal, and that is where we will stand as we head into the first intermission. RPI worked hard to get that one goal. They were stymied for pretty much the entire period by some outstanding play by sophomore Daniel Manella, whose name has come up with some frequency and for good cause. But the Engineers finally able to break the ice just before the end of the period. So that's pretty good timing for them.
Yes, Daniel Manella, they finally solved him, at least for now, as they look to try and continue to do that. At the end of the first period, Engineers just had a beautiful play from all sides, from the neutral zone to the defensive zone, all the way back into the offensive zone to score on that play. It took an entire team effort, and that's what you want to see if you're a coach. You want to see everyone firing on all cylinders.
The scoring on RPI's first goal, an even strength goal. I don't have the official time, but I'm guessing that would have to be 1948 or so.
Yes.
Goal scored by Billy Jerry, his 6th of the season, with the assists going to Evan Tierney's, his 8th assist of the year, and Will Riley, his 4th helper on the year. So that is the connection on the first and only goal of today's contest so far. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back in just a few minutes with our intermission. Your score after 1 period of play is RPI 1 and St. Lawrence 0. You're listening to live coverage of Engineers hockey on 91.5 FM WRPI Troy.
RPI would like to thank D.E. Bowles Secretary, CDPHD, Boucher and Clark Financial, Market 32.7, Yankee 12, Red Front Pizza, Tri-City Windows, Dunkin' Donuts, Toyota, Green Peterson, CBTA, Ben & Jerry's, Clark Clothing Bank, Boucher and Clark Financial, Wooded Smart, Gatherers Granola, Fryhouse, Little Caesar's Pizza, Alexander Railroad, the RPI Capital Cultural Center, and Clark City Halifax, all proud sponsors of RPI Life. Hey, continuing to buy or sell your home, Building Morris, Wood, Blue Morris, and Healthcare Real Estate Services. You can give a call at 518-231-1579. Top sales team in Metro County, so that building will do it.
Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Troy, New York. We're in the first intermission of today's ECAC game between the St. Lawrence Saints and the RPI Engineers, and your score after one period is RPI 1 and St. Lawrence nothing. Tom Rail and Joseph Piscicano with you on the call this evening. Take a quick look around the ECAC scores. Most of these are at the end of period number 1. Up Route 7 in Schenectady, battle of top teams as top-ranked Clarkson, at least top-ranked in the ECAC, has a 2-1 lead over Union after one period. So whereas today's contest in Troy is a battle between 11th and 12th in the ECAC, this is more or less a battle of 1 and 2 as Clarkson undefeated in ECAC play so far this season. Union just behind them, 2 points behind them, as a matter of fact, tied for second with Cornell. And right now, Clarkson looking to extend their winning streak in ECAC play to 9. They have, as I mentioned, a 2-1 lead over the Dutchmen. Devin Brosseau and Gary Astrin on the goals for Clarkson. Sebastian Vidmar with the tally for Union on the power play. Brosseau got the scoring start in just 55 seconds of the first period to give Clarkson a quick lead in that one. After one period in Dartmouth, it is 2-2 between the Bobcats and Big Green, the Quinnipiac Bobcats. Tanner McMaster and Odine Tufto, the goals for Quinnipiac. Corey Kalk and Daniel Warpecha, the tallies for Dartmouth, with Warpecha's goal coming in the final minute of the first period. Colgate and Brown are scoreless after one at the Meehan Auditorium in Providence. Harvard has a 1-0 lead over Princeton in Boston with a goal by Ryan Donato right back onto the score sheet with his 15th goal of the season. As we mentioned in the pregame, Tuesday's game between RPI and Harvard, the first time all season that Ryan Donato failed to register a point. But he is right back to his scoring ways by scoring the first goal of that one with about 20 seconds left in period number 1. One other game that's going on, we don't have a scoring update from it that I can find anywhere. Anyway, Cornell is at Yale tonight. That game was supposed to start at 7 o'clock, but I don't have any scoring updates whatsoever in that one. No even indication if the puck has dropped, so I'll have to wait and see if we get any results from them later on this evening. Over on the women's side, RPI is at Clarkson this evening, the defending national championships, and the Engineers making a game of it. They are trailing midway through the third period, 2-1. Blake Arose was the lone goal for the Engineers at 5:04 of the second period. Her fourth of the year was from Shayna Tomlinson and Jamie Grigsby. Made it 1-1, but Clarkson got that goal right back a little bit over a minute later as Elizabeth Jaguar scored her 15th goal of the season from Mikhaila Pezlova and Lauren Gable. Labisa Solander has 35 saves in net for the Engineers. That's definitely keeping them in that one, so we will keep an eye on the RPI women as they are up in the North Country this weekend. St. Lawrence has a 3-0 lead over the Union Dutch women. Yale is up 2-0 at Quinnipiac, and Brown is trailing Princeton on the road by a score of 3-0. All of those games are in the third period. Two finals from earlier this afternoon. Colgate defeated Harvard in Hamilton by a score of 3-2, and Cornell shut out Dartmouth in Ithaca 2-0. We will step aside and be back in just a couple of minutes with period number 2 here from the Fieldhouse. Your score after one period is RPI 1 and St. Lawrence nothing. You listen to live coverage of Engineers hockey on 91.5 FM, WRPI Troy.
and again, we'd like to welcome you back to the Houston Fieldhouse in Troy, New York, on the campus of Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. I'm Joseph Pisacano, joined here by Tom Reel. We'd like to thank the Rensselaer Union, which provides the funding for WRPI and all the club-related activity of the Institute, including WRPI's coverage of RPI hockey. Just a reminder to our listeners, WRPI is on the World Wide Web. Point your browser to WRPI.org, and you can pick up WRPI's broadcast 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so long as WRPI is broadcasting. We will provide the broadcast on our internet feed. Once again, that is WRPI.org.
Thank you, Joe. Score after one period of play is RPI 1 and St. Lawrence nothing. Really kind of a hard luck showing for the Saints, who were looking to get out of period number 1 with no score, which would have been really a braggable achievement. They did very well defensively for much of the period. RPI really turning the attacking zone into a real barrage at some points, but they were looking to get out unscathed, and then Billy Jerry was able to tip in a pass from Evan Tierney's, and that's the difference in this one.
Yeah, and Evan Tierney's really showed a lot of poise and patience and just sort of a relaxation about him as he just sort of went into the net, went into the red line, and then found Jerry hovering around the crease, where Jerry sort of just had to concentrate and make sure that puck got onto his stick and into the net.
Today is the autism awareness game, which is why the anthems may have been a little quieter than you're used to. There's no music today, there's no band. Students are still on break, so there's not a whole lot of noise coming from the student section, but still a pretty decent crowd here for Friday evening. The North Country pairing always good for attendance here at the Fieldhouse. 20 minutes are on the board, and here's skating from left to right in the second period across your radio dial, and Whiffen will battle with Sullivan to open the period, and the Engineers end up with the puck off the opening faceoff. Tipped into the zone by Liljegren. Giving chase is Wolf. He has a D-to-D pass across from White. And now St. Lawrence looking to move the other way there, 1-on-2, and Pritchard will just dump it in. And then Marshall collects it behind his net, bounces it off of Wilson. That was a dangerous move by the RPI freshman to put it off of his own man and let that bounce. But there's no harm, and he's back in his cage. Fighting for it now near the Zamboni doors. And Sullivan comes away with it, takes a shot that's saved by Marshall. And Polino breaks out. He has Whiffen with him. Here comes Polino. Whiffen takes the pass from the corner and tries to one-time it, but it goes to the side. Now a shot from the point is saved by Manella. And then coming from the area of Samick and Riley over there on the far side. St. Lawrence gets it out to center. Now they'll dump it in. Here comes Will Riley now. Just kind of sends it off of his backhand over to Samick on the other side. And the Engineers, with an errant pass through the neutral zone, ice the puck. 18:52 left in period number 2. RPI up 1-0 on St. Lawrence.
And the skating Saints coming out with a bit of a jump here in this second period, trying to just fire shots off and cause turnovers in the Engineer zone.
Face-off is to the left of Lyndon Marshall. St. Lawrence wins it in the attacking zone. They'll send it deeper. And Samick in the near corner gets it away, but a pass is picked off by St. Lawrence until another pass is picked off by Billy Jerry. That was Ederer on the initial pickoff. And now Riley curls around in his own end. D-to-D pass over for Samick on the near side. Now he'll send it behind his net back to Riley. Riley looking for Tierney's on the logo. He tips it in, and Billy Jerry gives chase. Glakowski is the first one there. Tries to tip it to the far side, but it's on the stick of Tierney's, who rips a shot. That's saved by Manella. Now a shot that it might have been going wide of the cage, but Manella scoops that one into his glove, and there's no rebound.
Yeah, again, so the Engineers starting to push back a bit here after the jump from the skating Saints, as they sort of were, it looks like they may have switched their forecheck from a 1-2-2 system to a 2-1-2 as they've sent more than one person behind the red line to chase the puck on their forecheck.
Hayhurst wins the draw in the attacking zone. Back to Moore, who fires it behind the net. Reisinger tried to move it up before Hayhurst. Burgess came to help out, but St. Lawrence comes away with it. Garvey is going to backhand that out of the zone. Now Grant back for the Engineers and tipped into the zone by Hayhurst. Unless they're going to say Hayhurst didn't touch it, so it's icing on the Engineers.
Yeah, icing here on the Engineers.
17:46 left in period number 2. RPI with a 1-0 lead off the stick of Billy Jared. A tip-in goal with about 11 seconds remaining in period number 1, and that is the difference in this one. Face-off won back by the Engineers. Up to the point, kept in by White. Now Laidley along the near side. Trying to shield the puck away from Hayhurst. And he'll just dump it over towards the Zamboni door. Gleekle let that one run into the near corner. And now Hayhurst trying to get it away from Gleekle. Ends up out of the zone just for a moment. St. Lawrence sends it back. They had to touch up, and they do. Okay, still on the puck. Burgess pushes it up for Jaron Burke. Stolen away by Nielsen. Nielsen is into the zone 1-on-2. Pulls up waiting for his teammates, and Mears Moore is able to wrest the puck away from him in the meantime. Jaron Burke behind his own net. Trying to get away from a forecheck pressure. That's good pressure put on by Joe Sullivan, senior captain out of Las Vegas. Top line out there for St. Lawrence as Sullivan takes a shot that's kicked aside by Marshall. Burgess now gets it out of the zone. Almost had an opportunity for a breakaway, but just couldn't get a good jump on the puck. RPI looking to recover now. Moore in his own end. Over for Wilson. Wilson was looking for Polino, who tips it on into the zone. Manella goes back behind his net to stop it. Puck pops up along the near side. Prapavessis takes it down outside the zone, so Engineers look to move back in as it gets dumped down. Prapavessis pinches in to keep control of it. Now he skates towards the slot, still on top of it. Takes a shot and a rebound opportunity by Polino on the backhand. Can't get enough on it. He controls it again. Now a shot by Wilson and a big grab by Manella to keep that one out. And again, that's another one that might have been going wide, but the St. Lawrence sophomore taking no chances and making some really nifty scoops with that big glove of his.
Yeah, you can see Polino kicking himself after this rebound that just Manella gets his glove out to stop. And another split save there from Manella to keep the Engineers out of the net.
Good reflexive moves there by the St. Lawrence sophomore, who really is showing why he's established himself as the top choice. Wilson fires a shot that goes up, a rising shot that goes over the cage. Comes over to the far side where there's a big battle for it along the far boards. Tierney tries to poke it free. Now Jerry is on top of it. He'll send it into the corner. Emil Orval, a touch pass for Tierney. Now back up to the point for Prapavessis, who takes a shot. That's saved by Manella. Comes free just to his right. That's picked up by the Saints. Now moving forward is St. Lawrence. Jasevich loses the handle on it. And it is Wilson bringing into the center. He crosses the red line and gets popped up way up into the sky. He ends up putting it into the stands from over by his own bench over to the far side. So that puck had some wheels on it and get a face off at center ice.
Yeah, and the Saints sort of started this period out saying, hey, we're not done, RPI. We're going to keep pushing back, and the Engineers respond with several opportunities of their own.
Face off won by St. Lawrence. Lukowski sends that one down into the RPI end. Now a wraparound try by Garvey is saved by Marshall, and he covers for the stoppage.
Yeah, and Marshall, seeing the puck well, follows that puck all the way around behind the net and just sticks his skate out, shoves it up against the post, not letting any puck get jammed in. No wraparound attempt. No wraparound attempt there.
Plenty of stoppages here early in period number 2. We're not even 5 minutes in. RPI still up 1-0. The face-off coming to the right of Marshall. One back to Riley. He brings it out to center. Now crosses the blue line. Cross ice pass. Looked like he was looking for Hayhurst, but didn't find the target. Now it has to get sent in by Samick. Hayhurst along the far boards. Now over to Burgess, who walks in, takes a shot, kind of across the crease. That ended up glancing off of Manella and into the near side. Hayhurst now along the near boards, turns, looks up, finds Samick, who takes a shot. That's blocked by Garvey right in front of him. And St. Lawrence just able to get that over the blue line. RPI has to get themselves onside. Here's Riley in his own end. lifts that one high in the air. Is that going to come down? It comes down in the far corner. Only St. Lawrence there. They send it back to center. As RPI completes their line change, has to get onside, and they do. Mearsmore brings it in, takes a shot, glances off the leg of Manella and over to Burke on the near side. He brings it around the net and tries a tight angle shot, and that's blocked up and out of play by Philip Alftberg, the freshman defenseman from Marsta, Sweden.
And you can just see Mearsmore itching to get involved in the offensive zone, waiting there for his forwards to get back on side so that he could take that shot.
Moore has always been billed as an offensive-minded defenseman, and now he's back in the lineup. He certainly wants to take his opportunities. As Michael Laidley gets chased from the face-off circle, Cade Gleekle will face off against Jake Morello. And the puck goes back for the Saints. And they're able to push it out along the near side. So over to the logo. Mearsmore is on top of it, trying to get himself around Laidley. He's checked into the boards near the St. Lawrence bench. St. Lawrence takes advantage and brings it into the zone with Nielsen. Burke takes it away from him. And now it's to Mearsmore on the far side. Moore, cross-ice pass to Burke. Burke has a glance off the skate and loses control. And now St. Lawrence back on it. Gleekle on the far side. Pushed forward by Nielsen as St. Lawrence changes. Stopped behind the net by Marshall. Jared Wilson for RPI brings it out to center. And drops it off for Jesper Orval, who takes a shot. I'm sorry, that was Jake Morello, who takes a shot from the far side and it's plugged down by Morello for the whistle.
And that fourth line has done a nice job tonight, keeping the puck cycle, keeping the puck out of their own zone and sort of trying to keep pushing inside the offensive zone, trying to continue with their strong forechecks, and just, even if they're not great shots with a lot of passing, there's still shots that Manella has to save.
Shots in this one are 24-7 in favor of the Engineers, but they're only up 1-0 as St. Lawrence brings the puck forward after the defensive zone face-off win. Ryan Law in the corner. Twisting and turning, trying to get away from Billy Jerry. Now on top of it is Michael Ederer. Tries to get it up for the point, but it's picked off by Tierney's, and he will carry that out of the zone. St. Lawrence picks it up at center, and he'll just send it in where it's taken by Jared Wilson over in the far corner. Prapavesis to Tierney's on the near side. Cross-ice pass, and it's just poked out of the zone by Wilson. St. Lawrence looking to move the puck quickly down ice. Come away with it is Sullivan. Sullivan takes a shot that's blocked by Prapavesis into the near corner of the RPI end. Wilson with a back pass for Prapavesis, who carries it behind his own net. Now back to Wilson on the near side. Tierney's will just tip that out of the zone. Alfberg is on top of it for St. Lawrence. Sullivan at center ice, now near his own bench. Gets lifted into the RPI end, and Wilson goes behind his own net to collect it. Leaves it for Prapavesis as St. Lawrence changes. Prapavesis tried to move that through the neutral zone, but it was off the stick of Law. And that'll go behind the St. Lawrence cage. Picked up by Wolf. RPI takes control near the St. Lawrence blue line and ends up back behind. Now Alftberg with a D-to-D pass. Just a reminder, you're listening to live coverage of Engineers Hockey on 91.5 FM, WRPI Troy. Tom Reel and Joe Piscicano with you on the call as Polino brings it back into the zone. Takes a shot, and that bounced in front, and Manella had to be on his toes as that took a kind of a bounce that you hate to see when you're a netminder, but he's still able to keep himself in front and cover it up for the whistle. Yeah,
Manella moved like lightning to make that save. It was clearly going towards the far boards before somehow bouncing off of a stick to go back towards the near boards and towards his net. And Manella had to react quickly to make that save.
Really been very impressive with his reflexes, his ability to kind of reposition himself quickly. It's
a very athletic goaltender.
And he's absolutely showing why he's the new #1 in Canton, as a shot by Riley goes just to the side of the cage. RPI tried to pounce on the return from the backboards but couldn't get on top of it. Now Burgess bringing it back from his own end. Looking up for Hayhurst, and a whistle. They're going to say that was offsides.
Yeah, Burgess's stick went flying there on the strong check there against.
And now Manella is down on the ice. He's down on his knees. He's trying to maybe work something out in his right leg. Not sure exactly when this might have happened. They're showing a replay
Yeah, the
right now
Burgess
of
check was a hard
hit
check.
by Lukowski. Certainly has a reputation for some hard-nosed play.
Burgess is still shaking up, sort of just trying to get his shoulders.
Remember Todd Burgess coming right back into the lineup from an injury, and I believe it was an upper body injury. But right now the attention is on St. Lawrence netminder Daniel Manella, who has been absolutely outstanding in this game. It would be a big loss for St. Lawrence if he was to have to come out at this point. Looks like he looks like he's got some good movement. I'm hoping that everything will be okay.
It's looking maybe it's just a cramp as they're stretching out his hamstrings.
His hamstrings can be a touchy situation, and sometimes you see a hamstring injury, and obviously you're just kind of speculating given the stretching that's going on. But Arthur Bry is out on the ice and kind of stretching himself. He would be the natural choice to replace Manella if he's unable to go. He was the St. Lawrence starter from the beginning of the season. Obviously, the Saints did not have quite as much success with Bry between the pipes as they've had with Manella. And Manella's standing up, and I think he's going to be able to go. He looks like he's at least trying to make it work.
Yeah, he looks like he's checking out his butterfly, seeing how quick he can get down, get back up.
He needs to be able to react with those lightning reflexes that we've seen on 3 or 4 occasions here this evening. So Burgess looks like he's okay along the RPI side, and now Manella is skating off. He's under his own power, but this is a big, big loss for St. Lawrence, as he has been absolutely brilliant tonight for them in net. And now we're going to get an opportunity to see junior Arthur Bry. And the numbers on the junior from Yorba Linda, California. If you're watching RPI TV, you can see right there on your screen, they're not what you would consider to be overly stellar. 407 goals against average, an 882 save percentage, and a 1-2-12-1 record. St. Lawrence had an issue in net when they lost Kyle Lawson to the Wisconsin Badgers late this summer. And they've been looking to find their answer, and they seem to have it in Daniel Manella, but they do not have him now as we resume play here at the Fieldhouse. RPI moving it down into the St. Lawrence end. Fight for it in the neutral zone, cutting to the net, and Emil Orval never really got an opportunity to shoot that puck. And St. Lawrence now going the other way with a Cusinado. Across the logo, comes in on Marshall, and he'll just cover it as Cusinado is trying to crash the net.
Yes, and that's the second opposing goaltender to go down in the Houston Fieldhouse this week, as earlier John Lackey, the Harvard goaltender, had an injury, also a lower body injury.
Yeah, that was also kind of similarly out of nowhere, as right before the third period started, Michael Lackey went down, and
no big collision in front of the net. Just
wasn't even before the period started.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this impacts St. Lawrence's defense going forward. Meanwhile, Jasevich crashing the net, and a shot went just wide. St. Lawrence looking to take advantage. They have to know that they've got to score some goals now. As RPI moves the puck out, here comes Liljegren into the zone, dishes to Polino on the blue line, and walking in. Polino takes a shot, and Liljegren tried to tip it, but it goes wide. Liljegren now behind the net as RPI starts swarming. Takes it past Grant, moves into the top of the slot, still has it. Liljegren with the puck on a string, going around the net. Now an opportunity, takes a shot. Bry has lost his stick, which is right in front of him. He goes and collects it. RPI still on the puck. Puck comes free into the slot, was looking for Whiffen, but it's picked up by Lukowski and moved out of the zone. Dangerous opportunity there for the Engineers. Now Polino, cross-ice pass for Liljegren, who just absolutely sticking out his way through the zone about 2 circles before eventually pulling the trigger. And now Samek behind his own net. 10 minutes left in period number 2. RPI up 1-0. Jaron Burke pushes it forward. And it's picked up by Southers. Southers looking to move it out of the zone. And where's the puck? It's back with Wolf in the St. Lawrence end. Southers is just going to wing that one down in. Marshall is there to stop it. Isn't really able to control it. He has to quickly get back to his cage as the St. Lawrence forwards come forward. Now here's Burke with a breakaway opportunity. He takes a shot and is kicked aside by Bray. Burke never really got that one to settle for him, but he was all alone in front of Arthur Bray, and Bray makes his first big stop since coming in relief of Daniel Manella. Pritchard keeps it in the RPI zone. Now he gets dropped by Burke, and that allows the Engineers to move forward. Here comes Burke into the zone, trying to move it over for Jake Morello. He had the big body of Keenan Southers in front of him, trying to keep that one away from the RPI center. Now here comes Southers moving it into center. He'll have the puck moved off the stick. Giving chase is Prapavesis, but ends up with White on the near side. Takes a shot through traffic, bouncing puck, and Marshall is just able to keep that one out of the back of the net. Pritchard was behind him and had his opportunity, but was unable to convert on it in what might have been the best opportunity for St. Lawrence so far. Yeah, Marshall's just getting a little out of position there, which we haven't seen from him here tonight, as the Saints have really started to make a push since Manella has gone down. They know that they need to score here to tie this game up, and they're making an obvious effort to continue to forecheck, and they're maybe making a few more risks than they would if they were up, because as you can see, Jaron Burke got a breakaway opportunity there that if they were playing more conservatively, they probably would not have gotten. Burke didn't have a whole lot of space to operate with once he got free, and he really didn't have the puck settled. So when he took that shot, it was more rush. It was yeah, everything was very, it came together quickly, and he didn't really have control of the puck until he was really towards the top of the face-off circles. So that kind of shows you how much space he had to operate with. As you can see the replay, if you're watching RPI TV, he kind of wasn't able to settle the puck real well, and ended up with a blocker save by Arthur Bry. Wasn't really a high-level save. I mean, it was just kind of a bouncing puck that, as long as he was moving in the right direction, he was going to be able to keep that out. So a good move by the St. Lawrence Junior to keep this one a 1-0 score. Face-off in the RPI end to the right of Lyndon Marshall. Laidley and Hayhurst are dancing around it, and I guess they're just going to go ahead and drop it again. I think it was, might have gotten stuck in somebody's gear. So no harm, no foul, and he's going to drop it again in the same spot. And this one back by Hayhurst. It's on the stick of Jarrett Wilson. And now he finds Burgess on the logo. He dumps it off for Hayhurst, but Burgess was a step offside as Hayhurst wasn't right where he needed to be on that dish. Yeah, just a little too much momentum there, as Burgess was the one making the pass that caught him off sides. So the face-off just outside of the St. Lawrence end with 8:26 remaining in the second period, and RPI up 1-0. Engineers win the face-off. Prapavesis to Wilson, sends it in on net, and Bry just sends it over into the corner. Now it's back on the stick of Wilson. Jared Wilson looks up, takes a shot, and it goes just over the cage, off the end boards. And now it's on the stick of Todd Burgess, who backhands it to Prapavesis at the point. Prapavesis looks up, shoots through traffic, and that's blocked down by Laidley, who gets laid out by Burgess for his trouble. Now Prapavesis looks to move forward. Here's an opportunity for the Engineers, and a shot is saved by Bry. That was a good headman pass up for Reisinger, but he wasn't able to capitalize. Now Garvey for St. Lawrence is going to try a cross-ice pass with no one there, and it's picked up by Liljegren. Brings it back into the attacking zone. Liljegren curls, looks up, takes a shot. Rising shot goes over the net, and it's kept in at the point by Samek. Now Liljegren with a touch pass for Whiffet in the corner. Back to Liljegren in the near corner. Doesn't leave it for Riley. Decides to run on for Samek. Samek takes a shot, goes just to the right of the net. And Marnell is the first one there for St. Lawrence on the near side. Polino pinches in, trying to forecheck his way into it. Coming out with the puck is Marnell. Mike Marnell, the senior forward from South Huntington, New York, out on Long Island. Goes forward with it. St. Lawrence loses control behind the RPI net. Samek is on top of it. D-to-D pass behind his net for Riley, and Riley promptly gives it back to Samek after some forecheck pressure from Carson Jasevich. Now Riley looks to move on the other side to Polino. Polino loses the handle on it, and the first one to it is Alfberg. Sent back into the St. Lawrence end. Dylan Wolf is on it. looking up, looking for Jasevich, who was being held up by Samick, kept him from getting a good look. Now it's back to Wolf. Now a quick one-time shot by Alfberg is blocked in front. It looked like Mears Moore might have got himself over towards that. And RPI is able to get it up out of the zone. Milorval trying to move forward with it. Has Wolf on top of him. And now Wolf tries to level a hit in the near corner. And that helps Sullivan jump on it for St. Lawrence. Pritchard with a pass right in front of his own crease. Over for Alfberg. Now to Jasevich on the near side to Pritchard. Pritchard into the zone. Goes around waiting for help. Sends it to the far side. Whipping a quick turnaround shot is Glakowski. That's easily saved into the Zamboni corner by Marshall. Now tie up over near that door. And Ryan Law is on it for St. Lawrence. And losing the handle for the Saints is Pritchard, and goes back out to center. RPI looking to convert, but it's picked up on the logo by Ederer. He sends it into the RPI end, where it's whipped out by Mears Moore, gloved down at the red line by Glakowski. And Ederer tries to bring it into the zone, but he's offsides.
Yeah, and lucky there for the Engineers, as the Saints were absolutely buzzing. Not getting too many quality shots off due to good defense from the Engineers and good back checking from the wingers. But no doubt the Saints certainly had a lot of pressure there on Marshall, getting a lot of pucks towards the net.
Shot to 13-5 RPI in the second period and 28-9 Engineers for the game. As Burke comes into the zone, he gets tripped up going for a loose puck. That's a penalty on St. Lawrence, and RPI will be going back to the power play.
Yeah, and I'm a little confused there as why Dylan Wolf would take that penalty. It looks like he could have just skated towards the corner and instead decided to just sort of dive at Burke into, maybe he lost an edge. Looks like sort of going for a...
Well, he definitely kind of took out his legs,
yeah,
really unnecessarily, I might add.
Yeah,
the puck was well gone. It wasn't like Burke was going to be an immediate threat to take a shot, so not a good penalty for St. Lawrence to take here. And Wolf is off for tripping with 5:10 left in period number 2. RPI on their third power play of the evening. They're 0 for 2 so far. They win the faceoff. Tyrannese on the blue line. Polino on the near side. His pass is tipped by Glakowski, but RPI maintains control. Tyrannese cross for Burgess, who takes a shot. Sorry, that was Wilson who took that shot. Burgess now with it along the far boards. Almost comes free to whiff him by himself in front of the net. He has to curl back around. Now Wilson ripping a shot from the blue line, saved, and the puck is loose in the slot. He's back out to Tyrannese. Now Wilson back at the point. Over for Burgess. Burgess whips a shot. That's saved by Bry. It goes over into the far corner. Glakowski is there. He tries to get it out. Kept in by Wilson. Wilson sends it down low. Over Burgess's head, and now Glakowski's going to be able to get that one all the way down ice. 1:18 remaining on the penalty to Wolf. RPI on their third power play of the evening, up 1-0.
One thing to note, the Engineers have added one forward to their power play in Tyrannese and taken Mike Prapavesas off of that first unit. So maybe trying to get a little more offense here as Prapavesas carries the puck.
Prapavesas had it taken away late. Ladley is trailing on the play. Some good forecheck pressure being put on by Mike Marnell, who did the same on a different penalty kill. Now Ladley's just going to take it into the near corner of the RPI zone and just kill some more time. 45 seconds now remaining on the penalty. The RPI just having a whale of a time trying to get out of their own end. They send it over by the Zamboni door. So RPI needs to get themselves take care of here. Comes free to Garvey in the slot. He was all alone, but he lifts it high in the air and out of play. That's still going to create a defensive zone face-off for the Engineers on the power play. So a good move there by Garvey, the sophomore forward from Oakville, Ontario, to keep that pressure up. This was some very good forechecking by St. Lawrence on the penalty kill.
Yeah, just too many passes going through center ice, through the slot, that you don't want to really risk on a power play.
Whiffen and Law doing battle. Comes to Wilson off of the draw. Okay, looking to break out. 25 seconds left on the man advantage. Has it up for Whiffen, who gains the zone. Pulls up, back to Wilson. Now Grant. Back to Wilson at the top of the middle of the blue line. Now to Burgess. Burgess takes a shot. That's loose at the slot after it hits some bodies in front, but ends up on the stick of Garvey, and he sends it out. Wilson collects it with 4 seconds remaining on the power play. That should just about do it. RPI will be 0 for 3 on the man advantage. Once Wolf returns, he is back on the ice. And St. Lawrence keeping themselves in this game with a strong penalty kill. RPI moving back forward. Emil Orval behind the St. Lawrence net. It's held up by Ederer. That allows St. Lawrence to gain control. Ederer now looking to get away from Tyrannies as RPI looks to start forechecking. Kept in the zone by Samick, who rips a shot that goes well wide of everything. Gonna hit Tyrannies, actually. Now Emil Orval backhands it blindly from the corner. Kept in by Jerry. Now Riley on the near side. Moving in from the blue line. Now back up to the blue line. And he'll just whip a shot that tried to be tipped in front by Emil Orval. Now Orval centers it from behind the net looking for Jerry, but it bounced off a skate and right to Arthur Bride, who covers for the whistle.
Yeah, and Orval being really creative there with a bit of a blind pass behind his own net that Jerry doesn't look like he really expected it. It sort of just tapped off his stick. But nice thinking there from Emil Orval. Creative play.
And Arthur Bride looks like he's starting to settle in pretty well. He looked a little bit shaky on his first couple of opportunities after coming in relief of an injured Daniel Manella. But he seems to be settling in there pretty well for St. Lawrence, and that's really big for a Saints team that needs some good goaltending in order to be successful. RPI on top of it after the faceoff. Grant sends it behind the net. First one over there is Jaron Burke. He loses the handle on it and is picked up by Alfberg. Moves it out of the zone. Now coming forward to the Saints 2-on-2. Jasevitz has Southers with him, drops it off. Now Wolf can't keep the handle on it. He probably wanted to one-time it, but had to stop because the initial pass was a little too hot. And Prapavessis ends up with it behind the net. Forechecking is Jasevitz. Okay, gets around the forecheck. Jesper Orval loses the handle on it, and now it is Alfberg, fellow Swede. Moves out to center and is picked up by Grant. Prapavessis. Reisinger, a quick pass to Jesper Orval. Now another quick pass as the Engineers move the puck well, but they can't pull the trigger ultimately in the end. Of course, there's Polino trying to get a handle on it. Now the puck at the point. Here's Burgess. Takes a shot, and it goes through everything. Over to Riley on the near side. Riley dumps it in. Reisinger, backhand, over to Hayhurst. Behind the St. Lawrence net. Puck is free. The first one there is Philip Alfberg. Garvey moves it out of the zone for St. Lawrence along his own bench. He has Gilmore with him. Takes a shot that's blocked by Wilson. Now an opportunity following up with Garvey. He still couldn't get it to the net, and Burgess is going to lift that one high in the air. And they're going to say it was played by a high stick. Sure, it must have been a St. Lawrence high stick because the puck is staying in the St. Lawrence zone. So with 49 seconds left in period number 2, RPI up 1-0. Maybe an opportunity to try and score themselves another last-minute goal.
Yes, and Marshall's really been up to the task. We haven't really said his name too much because the Saints haven't been in the Engineer off defensive zone that much this period, but Lyndon Marshall has followed the puck really well tonight.
RPI wins the face-off. They send it down looking for Polino behind the net. Polino's trying to get himself away from Michael Ladley. On the far side is picked up by St. Lawrence. Law brings it over on the near side. Law has Ladley with him. He lifts out high in the air, and that one just comes down over by the Zamboni door. Now, Liljegren comes away with it with 20 seconds left in the period. Polino gains the zone. Has a streaking Liljegren coming in, tries to cut to the puck, but it gets to Arthur Bride before Liljegren can get on top of it, and he quickly covers up for the whistle.
Yeah, and good thinking there by Plain. Just a little pass in front of the net, try to get Liljegren a tip on it. But as I was saying earlier, Marshall has done a really nice job in this period. There have been a few instances where the puck has sort of bounced around in front of his net, and he's covered it up and slowed the play down.
It was a right move by Polino on that last sequence to just try and get that out in front for Liljegren to try to tip, but it was a little bit too far in front for the RPI senior to grab. And he's going to win the face-off. 13 seconds left. It gets blocked at the point, and Marnell brings it in for St. Lawrence. Now a shot by St. Lawrence over the net. RPI gets it out with 2 seconds left, and that should just about do it. RPI walks into the second intermission with the same lead they held after one. It's just a Billy Jerry goal in this one that is the separation between RPI and St. Lawrence.
Yes, so the Engineers are going to go into the third period how they want with the lead, and they got that first goal. Coach talked about getting that first goal and having confidence, and though St. Lawrence pushed back here in the second period, getting more shots off and getting more chances, the Engineers responded defensively And so they look to close it out in the third period and try and get an ECAC win here against the St. Lawrence team.
We'll step aside for a little bit and be back with your second intermission in just a few minutes. Your score after 2 periods of play is RPI 1 and St. Lawrence nothing. You're listening to live coverage of Engineers Hockey on 91.5 FM, WRPI Troy.
WRPI Troy, New York.
We're back inside the fieldhouse for intermission number 2. Tonight's contest between RPI and St. Lawrence, and your score after 2 periods of play, RPI 1 and St. Lawrence nothing. Start off with women's hockey. All games now final. The Engineers put up a spirited fight up in the North Country, taking it to overtime against the defending national champions from Clarkson, but fell just a little bit short as they lose in overtime by a score of 3-2. Jamie Grigsby scored an extra attacker goal for the Engineers with 1:09 remaining in regulation. The assists going to Shayna Tomlinson and Sabrina Rapace. That's 2 points on the night for both Grigsby and Tomlinson. But just 19 seconds into overtime, Lauren Gable, her 16th goal of the season from Michaela Pezlovka and Elizabeth Giguere, allowed Clarkson to escape with the 3-2 victory at home. Lavisa Solander made 41 saves in net for the Engineers on 44 shots faced. Shay Tiley picked up the win in net for Clarkson. She made 24 saves on 26 shots. So the Engineers fall 3-2 to Clarkson up in the North Country. Elsewhere, all of these other scores are now final. Earlier today, Colgate beat Harvard by a score of 3-2. Cornell shut out Dartmouth 2-0. And games also just finishing up around the ECAC women's world. Princeton shut out Brown 4-0. St. Lawrence shut out Union 4-0. And Yale shut out Quinnipiac 2-0. So that is all from the women's side. On the men's side, in addition to RPI's 1-0 lead that they hold here at the Fieldhouse over St. Lawrence, Clarkson still has a 2-1 edge over the Dutchmen up in Schenectady. That is after 2 periods of play. Also after 2 periods, Colgate leads Brown by a score of 1-0 in Providence. Yale is up 2-1 on Cornell after 2 periods in New Haven. And we've got a few scores that are late in the second period. Let me refresh that, see if they've ended. Okay, not according to this. Harvard leads Princeton 3-0 late in the second period. Ryan Donato now has 2 goals in that one for the Crimson. And Quinnipiac and Harvard are tied at 3 late in the second period in Hanover. Tanner McMaster has a pair of goals for the Bobcats in that one. Elsewhere in Division I men's hockey and Hockey East play, Providence is up over Boston College 2-1 after 2 periods. UConn and Merrimack are scoreless after 2 periods. Northeastern leads Maine 4-2. Boston University has a 3-2 edge at New Hampshire. And UMass is up 1-0 over Vermont. All of those Hockey East scores are after 2 periods of play. In Atlantic hockey, after 2 periods, Air Force is up 2-0 on RIT. Holy Cross leads Sacred Heart 2-1. And in a couple of games that are still late in the second period, Bentley and Army are tied at 2. Mercyhurst has a 2-1 lead over Niagara. In the Big Ten, after 1 period, Penn State is leading Ohio State 2-0. And a couple of games that are in the first period, Michigan leads Minnesota 2-1, and Michigan State and Wisconsin are scoreless. Both of those games, as I mentioned, in the first period. WCHA action. Games going on in the second period right now. Northern Michigan is all over Bowling Green 4-1. Ferris State is crushing Lake Superior State by a score of 3-0. Both of those games are in the second period. NCHC in the first period. Omaha leads Miami by a score of 1-0. Later on tonight, Western Michigan is at St. Cloud State. Minnesota Duluth is at Colorado College. And in non-conference play, North Dakota and Bemidji State tied at 1 in the first period. And later tonight, UMass Lowell is out at Arizona, missing all of the wonderfully warm weather here out east. That's going to get very, very cold very, very soon. We will step aside and prepare ourselves for the coming third period. Your score after 2 periods is RPI 1 and St. Lawrence 0. Listen to live coverage of Engineers Hockey at 91.5 FM, WRPI Troy.
Welcome back to the Fieldhouse here in Troy, New York on the campus of Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. I'm Joseph Pisagano, joined by Tom Reel. Just a reminder to our listeners, WRPI is on the World Wide Web. Point your browser to WRPI.org and you can pick up WRPI's broadcast 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so long as WRPI is broadcasting. We will provide the broadcast on our internet feed. Once again, that is WRPI.org.
One goal is all we have to speak of in this one this evening. It came towards the very end of the first period. And that will make it very easy to go over the scoring in this one. Billy Jerry with his 6th goal of the year on a tip-in. Great pass by Evan Tierney's. And Will Riley on the secondary assist. 19:49 in the first period. That is where we stand heading into period number 3. Daniel Manella made 24 saves on 25 shots before he came out. A little bit under midway through the second period. Arthur Bryan, relief, has made 8 saves in his stead. Lynn Marshall has faced just 9 shots this evening, but he has stopped every single one of them. There have been 3 penalties called in the first 2 periods. All 3 of them were against the St. Lawrence Saints. And the Engineers are 0 for 3 on the power play.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yes, and only 1 goal to speak of, but a lot of good hockey to speak of, as the Engineers they haven't played sloppy tonight. They've done a nice job of keeping their passes on tapes of each other's sticks, not really setting each other up for failure, just kind of keeping the puck, and then when they sort of get overwhelmed by the St. Lawrence forecheck, which was much more prominent in the second period than in the first, they're able to clear the zone and sort of regroup and get a line change.
And St. Lawrence has definitely done what they've needed to do in order to keep themselves in a position to still be in this one. You have to give them some credit as well. They've held very strong, and they're just a goal back. We saw from the Engineers last time out that being one up is not a sure sign of anything. As the Engineers win the opening faceoff, bring it down ice, and a quick shot by Polino is saved into the corner by Bry. St. Lawrence looking to move it out. Pritchard is going to send it behind his own net. White sends it along the far side. Kept in momentarily by Prapavesis pinching in, but he has it taken away from him by Marnell. Now Pritchard on the near side coming in. Glides behind the RPI cage, turns and fires a clean slot. White tries to pinch in to keep it in, but Gilsberg is on top of it and brings it out to center. White gains control of it back by the RPI bench. He's just going to send it in. St. Lawrence changes. Prapavesis up to Tierney's. Tierney's in the zone. Whips a shot right on Arthur Bry. He covers up, no rebound.
Yes, and a bit of an anomaly happening on the far boards is Jared Wilson, after finishing a check on Jacob Pritchard. Got his stick stuck in between the pieces of glass and had to kind of rip it out. So kind of funny to see that, but
19:09 left in regulation. RPI up 1-0. Face off in the St. Lawrence end. One back by the Saints. Wachowski up for the Sevets. He loses a kind of fans on a pass attempt. Now a shot by Wachowski. Marshall had to be sharp on that one, and the turnaround opportunity goes off the bottom of the cage. St. Lawrence buzzing, and they score. Nice move in towards the net by Michael Ederer. Just roofs it. A little bit of sloppy defensive work by the Engineers, and St. Lawrence converts on it. Just a nice heads-up play by the junior from Lancaster, New York. He just cut straight to the net, found his opening, and roofed it for his first goal of the year.
yeah, and Marshall was scrambling himself a bit after defending a 3-on-2, sort of looking behind him, trying to find the puck before seeing it in the corner, and then that shot getting off.
And that's exactly what we were just talking about. It's about a minute ago. St. Lawrence kept themselves in this game. 1 minute, or 1 goal lead was off of Precarious, and now that is gone for the Engineers. We are back to square one at 1-1 with 18:45 left in the third period. St. Lawrence moving the puck out of their own end. They've got a little bit of a pep in their step after scoring. Marshall stops it behind his net. Now sends it over for Mears Moore. Lots of speed now for St. Lawrence as they are really pushing forward. Wachowski at the point. One of the key elements setting up that goal. Centering opportunity is picked off by Burgess, and now RPI looking to move the other way. Burgess into the zone. Nice pass to Hayhurst, who has into the slot, but yeah, taken off his stick. Good play by Keenan Southers. Now St. Lawrence quickly the other way. Nielsen can't control it, and the bouncing puck led to St. Lawrence being called offsides.
Yeah, and a good back check there by Todd Burgess there that also forced the offsides on the Saints.
St. Lawrence with 3 shots already here in the third period. They only had 4 and 5 in the first 2 periods respectively. So much like RPI on Tuesday, who didn't have a whole lot of shots in the first couple of periods, they've come out, started trying to put some rubber on net, and it's paid off for them here early in the third period as they've tied it up on a goal by giving it to Pritchard, I guess. We'll have to wait and see. That should be Ederer. Nevertheless, we'll wait for the final tally to come down. St. Lawrence behind their own net. Over to the near side for Nielsen, picked off by Wilson. Sends it through the slot, nobody there. It's picked up by St. Lawrence. 3-on-2 going the other way. Here come the Saints. Laidley in the slot, has it bounce off of his stick and into the corner. So a lucky break there for the Engineers, who did not have the numbers going back the other way. As it was Cusimano bringing it forward for St. Lawrence. Now Orval goes down pretty easily along the far boards. No call there. I don't think one was really warranted either. So they battle for it near the Zamboni door. It's free to the near side of the St. Lawrence end. Pritchard trying to shield it away from Whiffen, so he gives it to his defensive man, Wolf. Pass up for Pritchard. He has to pull up to grab it, so once he does, he sends it into the far corner of the RPI end. Riley on top of it for Papavessis in his own end. Good forecheck pressure by St. Lawrence now as that top line of Sullivan, Pritchard, and Marnell out there for the Saints. Wachowski pinching in, keeps it in the corner. Now a takedown by Whiffen, and he's going to get called. Penalty coming up on Whiffen as St. Lawrence still controls. Extra attacker on for the Saints as Sullivan comes away with it in the corner. He looks to center it, and it's right into the skates of Papavessis, and that will draw the whistle. 16:23 left in period number 3, and St. Lawrence is about to go on their first power play just a couple of minutes after tying this one.
Yeah, and the Saints really coming out with a bang here to start the period, scoring and then getting their forecheck just all over their offensive zone, forcing Whiffen to take that penalty in the corner. Sullivan
was the one taken down in the corner, boarding the call against the RPI junior. St. Lawrence going on to the power play. 18.1% on the man advantage this season. That's pretty decent for a team that's had their struggles scoring sometimes this year. St. Lawrence with the puck and the advantage in the RPI end. Grant tries to clear, kept in by the Saints. Shot from the point by Stevens is saved by Marshall, and the rebound is cleared down ice.
Good focus there by Marshall to keep his eye on that puck after what looked to be a clearing attempt from Tommy Grant.
Stevens behind his own net. He'll bring it out himself. Passes to the far side for Ryan Law. Law on the far side. Morello trying to dig it out. RPI on the penalty kill for the first time this evening. Battle for it along the far boards. The Engineers are the ones that come away with it. That's cleared out down ice by Morello. RPI this season on the penalty kill, 78.2%. That is just 68 for 87. That's something they're going to be looking to boost. We have an opportunity to do it right here. 1 minute remaining on the penalty to Whiffen. Alfberg moves ahead for Pritchard. Pritchard into the zone, takes a shot, blocked by Prapavesis. Puck goes to the far side. Lukowski on the point. Whips it over to Sullivan. Joe Sullivan with a shot that goes behind the net. And that's just going to go ahead and clear itself. Tierney's helps it down ice. And he takes a shot that's saved by Bry. Tierney's follows up, so Bry holds on for the whistle. 36 seconds remaining on the penalty to Whiffen. And there's some pushing and shoving going on in front of the St. Lawrence cage.
Yeah, just a bit of extracurricular activities, as the Engineers certainly are not happy to have the score tied up after carrying most of the play for the first two periods. But the Saints have not gone away, and the Engineers are going to have to work if they want to get this win.
Face off in the St. Lawrence end, Morello and Sullivan. Sullivan wins it back to Alfberg. Alfberg settles behind his own net, but he's chased out by Reisinger. Comes Alfberg across the blue line, and Marnell is offsides. Not a good look for St. Lawrence there. There wasn't a whole lot of pressure moving into the zone.
Yeah, but a good job by the Engineers to hold up the Saints at the blue line to force that offsides, and that's what you want to see on a penalty kill. You want to see them try to make the opponent hesitate.
Scoring for St. Lawrence at 1:08 of the third period, an even strength goal by Michael Ederer, his first of the season, from Carson Jasevitz and Ryan Law. And that is where we stand, 1-1 now. St. Lawrence tied it up just before going on this power play. 26 seconds left on the penalty to Whiffen. Some pushing and shoving going on ahead of the face-off just outside the RPI end. Law settles in. Take the face-off against Jerry, and there's some stick work going on between Wilson and Gilmore just to the right of them. The Engineers win the face-off back, and Grant has it. Just send that one down ice. Bry stops it behind his net. Stevens for the Saints. Bring it forward. Pass ahead for Law. 13 seconds left on the RPI kill. Gilmore into the corner. He's stood up by Wilson. That allows the Engineers to clear it. 5 seconds left on the penalty. That should do it for RPI's first kill of the evening. They are 1-for-1 on the penalty kill.
Yeah, strong penalty kill there from the Engineers, getting the puck out of the zone quickly.
And Lawrence sends it down ice. And Santa picks it up in his own end. A little bit more forecheck pressure coming from St. Lawrence here. Pass up ahead for Liljegren. It goes through everybody, really, and it goes all the way down ice, and it's taken by Stevens. Stevens ahead for Garvey. Garvey brings it into the attack zone on the far side. Whips a shot right into Marshall, and there's no rebound.
A bit of extracurriculars out in front of the net between the Saints and the Engineers, as both are starting to make their final pushes here at the end of the game.
Still some time in regulation, but RPI is looking to shift the momentum back in their direction. They certainly had it for much of the first two periods, and St. Lawrence got it, really seized control of the goal they scored and then the power play opportunity that they just had. So RPI really looking for their first bit of momentum here in the third as they win the faceoff in the defensive zone. Moore with a cross-ice pass up for Burgess. Burgess along the far boards takes a shot that's saved to the near side by Bry, and then a follow-up shot by Moore is right into the pads of Arthur Bry, and he holds on for the whistle.
Yes, and the Engineers doing a great job on the rush there, just getting the puck right on the net, maybe hoping for a rebound off a block or save, and just a little tapping. But Mearsmore again taking the opportunity, skating here tonight, getting that shot off.
This is Arthur Bry's game for the Saints as Daniel Manella no longer on the St. Lawrence bench after the third period started. So on for an injury. Arthur Bry has certainly done what he's needed to do in order to keep his team in this one. It's 1-1 with 13:27 remaining in period number 3. RPI now moving the puck forward. Reisinger had some open ice to work with, but couldn't hang on to a pass from Burgess. And now over in the far side in the St. Lawrence zone, the battle is with Hayhurst and Wolf really going at it. They've driven the puck over towards the near side. Coming away with it is Hayhurst. Hayhurst looks up more on the near side. Now a cross ice pass for Prapavessis had too much on it. He had to let it go. Now another battle behind the net. Burgess comes away with it. Has more in the slot. He can't control the pass. Comes back to Burgess, top of the slot. Drifts back. Leaves for Prapavessis on the blue line. Now Moore drifting back towards the blue line. He'll just backhand it into the zone. There's no one there for RPI. Runs all the way to the near side. Burgess is fighting with White for control. Now Prapavessis tries to get it back towards the point. Garvey keeps it in with his mid. Has it back now for the Saints. Getting it out of the zone to Rico. Wilson flex it in his own end for RPI. Headman pass for Jesper Orval, who tips it into the zone. Stevens is the first one there. Leaving for his D-man partner, Glukowski. Off the boards and into the RPI end. Chasing it down is Pritchard. Now Marnell behind the net. Back to the point for Stevens, who rips a shot, and that's kicked aside by Marshall into the far corner. There's Morello coming away for RPI, trying to move it forward as Wilson. He gets it out of the zone. Now Burke moving forward with it, has Morello with him. Tries a shot that was blocked by Marnell. Now Orval ends up with it on his stick. He couldn't get a shot off. He's kept in at the point by Samick.
Fouled
for Orval. Now to Riley. Riley kicks it towards the slot. Now it's on the stick of Orval again. Whiffs on the shot attempt. Now he just has a weak pass that's easily picked up by Marnell instead out of the zone. Dropped back in by Billy Jerry, RPI's goal scorer in this one. Behind the St. Lawrence cage, picked up by Elfberg. He clears it out of the zone. Southers tried to collect it, but he couldn't handle the pass. And RPI looks to regain the zone, but Billy Jerry brings it into the zone offsides.
Yeah, great play there by Jesper Orval to follow the play after Jaron Burke came in confidently on net, and then the puck's taken off his stick, but Orval right there to get the shot off.
So this faceoff will be just outside of the St. Lawrence end on the far side, neutral ice territory. Gilmore settles in for St. Lawrence, and he wins it back against Billy Jerry. Wolf looked ahead for Cucinato. Cucinato ripped a shot with Southers providing a big screen, but didn't get through Southers. Now Southers has it in the corner by himself. Now he's behind the cage by himself. Is up for Wood. Wolf has some space to operate. He shoots a shot that deflected off a skate and into the end boards. Now Southers trying to corral it on the corner. Some bodies get upended. The puck ends up near the blue line and just out. Wilson behind his own net now. 10:38 left in regulation. RPI and St. Lawrence tied at 1. Two forecheckers are forward for St. Lawrence, Cucinato and Gilmore, and Ederer also kind of skating around there. RPI tries a headman pass. Almost hit Tierney at the blue line, but he couldn't control it. And St. Lawrence just sends it back down into the RPI end. Saints looking to center. Now Glukowski all alone walking in. That's blocked by Whiffen. Goes into the corner. It's picked up by Ederer, the goal scorer for St. Lawrence. Jasevitz battles with Whiffen in the corner. Coming to help out is Prapavessis. Also down there is Ederer. RPI comes away with it. Emil Orval on the near boards. We'll just kind of lift that up out of the zone. White tries to glove it down. White now. Back out to center. Liljegren has it. He'll just kind of whip it in to the St. Lawrence end. Gives chase and puts a big hit on Glukowski on the far corner of the St. Lawrence end. Whiffen now for Grant. Grant with a tight angle shot saved by Bray. Now St. Lawrence is trying to tap it out of the zone. They're finally successful. RPI quick to touch up as Moore brings it back in. Moore skates to the net, puts it off the side of the net, and gets it back onto his stick. Just kind of sent it in, looked for Polino, and Polino had his back to the puck, couldn't see it. And Sullivan gets a chance to go the other way, 1-on-2. Moore and Grant well back for the Engineers. Puck comes to the far corner. Squirts free for Grant. Now over to Reisinger, who brings it through the neutral zone. Into the attacking end. Whips it into the far corner. Picked up there by Jacob Pritchard. St. Lawrence looking to move the other way now. Stevens into the attacking zone. Stevens trying to get around his man. Puck pops up in the slot, goes into the far corner. Picked up by Laley, who sends that one out of play with 8:37 remaining in period number 3. Still tied 1-1 between RPI and St. Lawrence.
And, you know, I'm watching here as the Engineers are certainly starting to make more of a push with time remaining, and they're trying to get that second goal so that they can win this game. But they have to stick to their fundamentals in the defensive zone. They have to listen to their goaltender and figure out what they need. The forwards need to stay close to the boards and stay close to the point so that they can cover those defensemen and not let the St. Lawrence defensemen hold the pucks in at the blue line, because that's going to kill them, and that's going to allow for continuous offensive zone time for St. Lawrence. They need to just make sure that they're sticking to the fundamentals and holding themselves accountable for their actions.
It's worth bearing in mind that it's definitely worth bearing in mind that St. Lawrence only has 1 point in ECAC play coming into tonight's contest, and that was a tie that they were able to pull against the Engineers in Canton earlier this season. And in that game, they had to come from behind, and they're once again coming from behind here.
Yes, and the Engineers, especially Lyndon Marshall, who played so well in that game, only to give up that shot in they give up that goal in the final seconds of the game with an extra attacker to allow them to bring the game to overtime. He's definitely going to have a chip on his shoulder trying to win this game.
With 8:37 left in period number 3, the face-off is going to be coming up in the RPI end. It'll be just to the right of Lyndon Marshall. Hayhurst wins it back for the Engineers. Kept in at the point by Glakowski. Burgess tries to put a body on him. But it comes free to Riley in the corner. Now Samick. As RPI looks to break out. Samick's pass goes through everybody all the way down ice, but they're going to wave off icing on the Engineers. That was a fortunate call for them, as it looked like it got through pretty much everybody. Battle for it along the RPI blue line, and I guess they're going to say that there was offsides, which is certainly likely, as there was pushing and shoving with the puck right there along the line.
And that's a good defensive stop there from the Engineers, forcing chaos at the blue line and causing an offsides to occur. So that's good job there defensively from the Engineers. And Jerry now looks to take the face-off against the top line.
Face-off won back by St. Lawrence. Here's Wolf bringing into the zone, has Jasevich now. I guess ferried down low. Back to Jasevich on the near side. Krapavesis gets it out. Now cross-ice pass up for Jerry. Jerry whips a shot that's ferried over behind the net by Bry. And now a battle for it on the near side. Tierney's to Jerry, looking for Emil Orval. Now tries to wrap around. Saved by Bry, and he covers up for the whistle.
And another thing I like that the Engineers are doing here in this period, they seem to have sort of tried to go out of their way to wait for their line mates so that they can cross the blue line into the offensive zone with a controlled pass, as opposed to simply dumping and chasing the puck. They're sort of trying to get the controlled entry so that they can get close into the slot, sort of back up the St. Lawrence defense and get a quality shot off from the slot or from down low.
7:35 left in period number 3. RPI and St. Lawrence tie it at 1. St. Lawrence wins the draw. Looking to move forward for Southers. Big 6'8" freshman. Loses control of it in the corner. RPI looks to break the other way now. Jesper Orval has Morello with him, and Burke as well. Has to pull up near the blue line. Morello over to Jesper Orval on the far side. Spins around his man with a spinorama, then gets over to Burke. Burke loses the handle on it, but gets it around his man. Still has it. Penalty coming up on Burke as his man got taken down behind the net with a lightly loose puck. It's going to be a slashing call on the RPI freshman. who is kind of just hurry up and get himself into the penalty box as soon as he could. Certainly no argument with him as Nolan Glukowski went down behind his own cage.
Yeah.
Almost kind of just, I wouldn't say it was a bad penalty. I don't even think it was really an intentional one. He just kind of was going after the puck and really just kind of went for him. But some really nice moves by Jesper Orvald to kind of create some space by doing a spinorama right next to Glukowski, but nothing was able to come on it.
And Orvald's certainly comfortable making that move. I've seen a highlight reel plays of him making that move in juniors when he played for the Fairbanks Ice Dogs.
So St. Lawrence back to the power play. They're 0 for 1 this evening, but really a golden opportunity for them to take the lead here in the last 7 minutes on the man advantage. Face-off one back to Glukowski. Shot by Alfberg is blocked. Still on St. Lawrence. Now the Engineers move it out. Whiffen wasn't able to get himself around to Alfberg. Good defensive play there on the power play by the freshman from Sweden. Now Glukowski looked up and found Pritchard. They shovel it into the RPI end. Picked up by the Engineers, but kept at the point by Glukowski. Over for Alfberg. Alfberg looks to get himself around Whiffen. Drops it off. Now a good play by Whiffen is just to put the stick off of Mike Marnell and out of the zone. Whiffen just kind of doing a little bit of light forechecking in the aftermath. And Billy Jerry now the lone man up for the Engineers as St. Lawrence sets up behind their own net. Jake Stevens, freshman defenseman. Moves the puck up for Ryan Law. Law behind the RPI cage, runs for Morello. Stevens keeps him momentarily at the point. Now it's a race for the puck. And it's going to be Stevens there beating out Jerry to it. Stevens will go back to set up. White coming up the near side. On the RPI bench, Tyrannese can't get it away from him. Dumped in, picked up by Krapavessis. Now it's backhanded out of the zone by Will Riley. Some good penalty killing going on for the Engineers. 37 seconds remaining on the penalty to Jaron Burke. Just a reminder, you're listening to live coverage of Engineers Hockey, 91.5 FM, WRPI Troy. Tom Reel and Joe Pisacano with you on the call here from the Fieldhouse. Law in the near corner, or the far corner of the RPI end. Has to Gilmore behind the net. For White now at the point. White looking up, circles, drops it off for Pritchard. Pritchard on the blue line, walks back up to the top side. Skating with it around the RPI net, still has it. Pritchard in the near corner, tries to drop it off. Wilson holds it up momentarily with 4 seconds remaining on the penalty kill. Up for White on the near side, and that will do it for the RPI penalty to Burke. The Engineers 2 for 2 now on the penalty kill this evening, and a big kill here late in the third period keeps this one tied at 1. RPI pulling that one out of the zone, goes off the skates of Stevens. The Saints still have to clear. They have some tired legs coming off of that power play. 4:39 left in regulation, 1-1 here at the Fieldhouse. Wilson moves it ahead for Liljegren. Liljegren gains the zone. He has Polino with him, tries to move it to Polino, goes through. Some good defensive play there by Nolan Bukowski. Now St. Lawrence moving it out of the zone. Across the RPI logo was Garvey. He lost the handle of it on it in the corner, and Samick scoops up for the Engineers. Now Liljegren along his own blue line. Garvey puts a hit on him, puts him down on the ice and steals the puck. Garvey with it along the blue line, but it's sent a little bit further down ice by Riley for a little bit of a breather for RPI. Now back with it is Wolf. Wolf, an opportunity looking up, and whiffing on the shot was Marnell, but a whistle blows, and I think we're going to have a penalty coming up here on RPI. An interference call.
There were bodies in front of the net. And
TJ Samick going off for interference with 3:58 left in regulation. Not a good time for an RPI penalty. Their third penalty of the evening, third penalty of the third period. And a timeout's going to be called here by St. Lawrence coach Mark Morris to try and set up for what is going to be an even bigger opportunity on the power play. They're 0 for 2 on the man advantage so far, but almost half of the remainder of regulation will be power play time for the Saints if they don't score. But obviously if they do score, that puts them in a very good spot. And as we mentioned during the right before the period started, they were hanging around, and RPA let them hang around really by not being able to convert on more than one goal. And now St. Lawrence has themselves in a position where they've tied it up and have their third chance of the third period to take the lead.
Yeah, it looks like Samick sort of held up his man at the blue line without the puck, and that's what resulted in the interference call. So Marshall's going to have to stand tall here with 3:58 remaining and a 2-minute minor penalty kill coming up against the Engineers. But on a positive note, the Engineer penalty kill has looked strong here tonight, and it will continue.
Shots are 9-8 RPI in the third period with 42-17 for the entire game. In the here and now, an RPI penalty kill at just about the wrong time. St. Lawrence with it off of the draw. Lukowski takes a shot, rises up over the cage, goes over into the far corner. An opportunity to get it through, and just past the outstretched stick of Philip Alfberg, and that goes down ice. So RPI's first clearance with 1:45 left on the kill. Alfberg moves it up himself. Has two trailers. Leaves it off for one of them. That's Pritchard. Jacob Pritchard into the RPI end. By himself in the near corner. Battling now with toward as Wilson. Has it back up for Lukowski at the point. Alfberg down low. That is Marnell. Now Lukowski on the blue line loses the handle on it. Goes over to the boards. He has to just kind of wing it towards the net. And it's picked up by Morello in the slot and sent down ice.
Engineers doing a nice job not just letting the penalty, the power play just skate right into their zone. They're sort of forcing them to the corner so that they have to set up at the points, or and holding them up at the blue line.
Halfway through the St. Lawrence power play. St. Lawrence looking to get set back up. RPI back with it. Tierney is going to get that one just out of the zone, not too far. Stevens has it along the red line. RPI now trying to jam up the works along the blue line. Jasevitz on the near side just sends that over into the corner. And pinching down for it is Alex Gilmore. RPI puts it off of the skate of Billy Jerry. That helps the Saints keep it in. Now a shot from the point by White is lifted up and it's over to the end boards. Curls around to Stevens on the near side. He's put into the boards by Tierney's. Now Gilmore has it taken off the stick, and RPI clears with 20 seconds remaining on the kill. Rye behind his own net leaves it for Stevens. Stevens looks up. Crosses the blue line. Passes over for Ederer. Engineers controlling in their own end now. Goes around and out of the zone with 4 seconds left on the penalty to Samick. That should do it. Engineers perfect on the kill, 3 for 3, just as the Saints were earlier in this game. Both teams are 0 for 3 on the man advantage with 1:52 left in regulation. Next goal wins, more or less. Turned over to Ederer in the RPI end. Now Lately back up to the point. Lukowski gets himself around Burgess. He comes in, takes a shot, and that's gloved down by Marshall. They have to be sharp on that one.
In a beautiful move there from Lukowski on Burgess, as Burgess sort of had to somehow stayed on his skates, but nonetheless a beautiful move at the blue line to get an open shot there on Marshall.
Lukowski really always been a very talented forward or a defenseman with the puck, a senior out of Wixom, Michigan. It's especially important to the Saints now that their leading scorer from the blue line, Ben Finkelstein, has left the team, likely to transfer for 2 seasons from now. St. Lawrence now with the puck behind the RPI cage. Sullivan looking to curl around, whips a shot that's saved by Marshall. It's on the puck stick of Polino as St. Lawrence applies some serious pressure on the forecheck. Lukowski keeps it in at the point. Puck is loose in the slot. It's batted away by Samick out to center for Alfberg. 1:11 left in regulation as Lukowski sends it down into the RPI end. First one on it is Pritchard. Good move by the St. Lawrence junior to be the first one there, but the puck now back out to center. Lukowski kind of lifts it up and unfortunately sends it out of play. Bad luck for St. Lawrence right there as they were looking to head back in to start the final minute of the third period, and face-off would be at center ice with 56.7 seconds remaining in regulation. RPI and St. Lawrence tied at 1.
Yes, and the Saints have really started to push here. And after their power play not scoring, they've continued to push here late in the period to try and get that game-winning goal.
Face-off at center ice is one backwards for St. Lawrence. Wolf let that one run all the way behind the RPI net. It's picked up by Wilson. Now a battle for it along the far boards with 38 seconds left in the third period. Stick handle back to the far side by Laidley. Engineers trying to get it out of their own end. And a penalty coming up on St. Lawrence as Hayhurst gets taken down behind his own net. Marshall waiting for RPI to move the puck before he comes out of his net, and he does. 17 seconds left in regulation. Shot by RPI. That is Burgess. Goes off of Bry, and Laidley will whip it in the near corner for the whistle. 12.5 seconds left in regulation. RPI going on the power play. A really big moment in this one, as RPI has the opportunity to potentially score in the last 12 seconds or in the early overtime period on the power play, as Ederer is off for tripping.
Yeah, and Todd Burgess just went coast to coast. I don't know. That was one of the most impressive plays I've seen from him all season, just taking the puck off of Wilson's stick behind the net and then just skating all the way down the ice, making stick handles all through the St. Lawrence defense and across the blue line before ripping that shot off.
So the Engineers, after dodging a bullet late in the third period with their own penalty, now gifted a golden opportunity here late in period number 3. RPI wins the faceoff, but jumping up on top of it is Laidley, who sends it out to center. 7 seconds left in regulation now, as RPI is probably just going to let this one run to overtime. And Wilson brings it into the corner and is just kind of waiting out the clock, and that will do it for period number 3. RPI to overtime for the 3rd consecutive game.
3rd consecutive game and 2nd time this week, as the Engineers look to now take it in overtime in a game that they did have the lead in. And then a push from St. Lawrence in the third period allowed them to come back into this game before at the end. And then multiple penalties also allowed them to have several opportunities to come back into this game. The Engineers were successfully able to kill all of them off, but nonetheless, it certainly built up their confidence late in the game, and the Engineers now have to close this out.
You do have to think that if RPI is unable to pick up the game winner here in overtime, that it's going to represent another lost opportunity. And
yes, much similar to the game they had earlier in the season against St. Lawrence at St. Lawrence, where they had the lead for most of the third period, for most of the game and for most of the third period.
Again, they had a lead for a good chunk against Harvard, had to settle for a tie, although at least in that one they ended up scoring the game-tying goal themselves. They had to come back in the third period to get that game-tying goal. They came back from a deep deficit in Dartmouth and then had a late lead that they then gave up and then lost in overtime. So there's been a lot of times this season where you look at it and say, well, there's been points left on the table. I think for RPI, especially considering how dominant they've been in the first 2 periods, anything less than a win will probably feel like lost points for the Engineers and really a lost opportunity. But on the other side of the ledger, St. Lawrence, this might be desperation time for them too. I mean, they're trailing RPI right now in the standings by 5 points. If they give up the game-tying goal, suddenly they're 7 points behind the rest of the league. If they can get the game-winning goal, then suddenly they're only 3 points behind RPI. So,
and their unbeaten streak continues.
St. Lawrence certainly is in a precarious position here. They are certainly going to be looking for the game winner themselves, but to give it up could really be almost a death knell for their season. It will be difficult at the mid-January point to be able to come back from being 7 points behind the rest of the league. So we'll have to see what happens. A lot on the line for both of these teams at the foot of the ECAC table. If they're going to make a move for home ice, St. Lawrence absolutely needs it, and the Engineers probably cannot afford to give up an extra point here as we're underway in overtime. RPI still with 1:43 of power play time to start the overtime period. They're now skating from left to right here in the overtime. Tie up at the blue line. RPI just going to move it back for Polino rather than risk being offsides. Polino will shoot that one all the way down around, and it's kept in by Burgess, but some help by the Saints. They're trying to move it out, and they're able to do so right there at the blue line. It's a good defensive play on the penalty kill for St. Lawrence. Polino trying to gain the zone quickly. He's unable to do so. We have to go back. As Wilson gets up to Tierney's on the near side, he will flip that into the zone. It's right back to the Saints. And they send it back down ice. RPI still trying to get themselves set up on this power play. They've got a golden opportunity, but they've wasted half of it just trying to control the puck. Marnell sends Sends it back down for the Saints. Riley now trying to set up. The RPI faithful getting a little bit restless here. With 40 seconds left in the power play, RPI still hasn't really established themselves in the attacking end. Here is Krapavesis. Now for Reisinger behind the net. Reisinger sets up for Riley at the point. Okay, finally getting himself established. Krapavesis walking in. Back to Krapavesis at the top of the slot. Flips it over to Hayhurst, who can't control the pass. Back to Riley now. And back to Hayhurst. Hayhurst on the near side, looking up, looking 12 points, and a shot and a goal for the Engineers. RPI wins in overtime, 2-1 off the stick of Victor Liljegren. RPI fans yelling, shoot, shoot, shoot. RPI waited for the right opportunity. They get the result that they needed tonight. Finally for RPI, a victory in ECAC play, 2-1, with the game-winning goal coming with 3:21 left in the overtime period on the power play.
And on that goal, Hayhurst and Riley were sort of playing catch, and the fans were starting to get restless, and they wanted someone to shoot, as they'd spent the whole power play just passing the puck and trying to get settled. But Hayhurst knew what he was looking for. You could see him tap his stick, calling for the puck. He knew the look that he was looking for, and finally he gets it and just sends it right into Liljegren with enough speed for Liljegren to not even have to hit it that hard, just to sort of tap it towards the net, and it finds top corner.
That's certainly a potential game changer for RPI. They've got a tough task tomorrow night as the Clarkson juggernaut rolls into town, fresh off a 4-1 victory at Union to stay undefeated at 9-0 on the season. But
if you're the Engineers,
for this night, this is going to be enough for RPI. A 2-1 victory.
2-1 victory, and Lyndon Marshall's playing good. Lyndon Marshall's played very good this week, and when you have a confident goaltender going into a game against a strong team like Clarkson, that's what you want to have. Much like the Saints came into this game with a very strong goaltender, a goaltender that hadn't been beaten in 4 games, and he kept them in this game. So all positivity from the Engineers tonight, and also strong play from their centermen, strong and patient play from their centermen, as Evan Tiernes and Jacob Hayhurst did a great job tonight of just waiting for the open man, waiting for the look to appear that they wanted before sending their passes into the forwards that were waiting in the right spots for those passes that were just easy tap and goals. Both goals were very similar, just easy tap and goals, most of the work being done from the forward and the defenseman who had the puck and got the assists on those goals.
Devastating for St. Lawrence, who've been playing a lot better lately. They seem to have finally found their groove with a strong goaltender, and just to lose Manila tonight to an injury, that wasn't the reason why they lost by any stretch of the imagination, because Arthur Bry he did all that he could in relief. He kept the puck out of the net until the very last moment.
And it really was just a beautiful goal. It's a tough goal to save.
And killing a penalty, nonetheless, you really can't put too much on his shoulders. But for St. Lawrence, now 7 points behind the remainder of the league. It's been a really tough season for them. Overall, really, if you really look at it from top to bottom, almost a more difficult season for St. Lawrence than it has been for RPI this year. And even though RPI just tied them on total wins with 4, it's still, looking at it holistically, they've really struggled in league play. They've only still got the 1 point, and now it's going to be a complete mountain to climb back for St. Lawrence. So your heart has to go out to them, because they fought valiantly tonight, and they weren't able to get a decent effort out of it.
And if Princeton's unable to pick up the win here tonight, then the Engineers would jump up in the standings ahead of them. So it's a big win for the Engineers as they move themselves out of 11th and maybe into 9th or 10th.
And in fact, at last check, Princeton was trailing Harvard, but we will get that in its entirety after we go through the scoring today. Joe's going to pick his offensive and defensive Engineers of the game while I recap this one. RPI struck first late in the first period, last minute, 1949 of period number 1. Even strength goal by Billy Jerry, his 6th of the year from Evan Tiernes, and Will Riley made it 1-0 RPI, and that was the score until the beginning of the 3rd period. when Michael Ederer scored his first goal of the season. An even strength goal at 1:08 from Carson Jasevitz and Ryan Law made it 1-1. And then the overtime winner for the Engineers on the power play at 1:39 of the extra session. Victor Liljegren scoring his 9th goal of the season for the game winner. Jacob Hayhurst and Will Riley with the assists on that one. So a 2-point night for Will Riley. Victor Liljegren scoring the game winner in overtime. Goaltending tonight, Lyndon Marshall gets the win in net for RPI, his 3rd collegiate victory. He made 19 saves on a total of 20 shots faced. 11 of those shots came in the 3rd period. RPI scoring on the only shot of the overtime period against Arthur Bry. Daniel Manella was in net for the Saints to start today. He played a total of 28-21 in net. He allowed 1 goal on 25 shots. Really have to underscore that he was beyond brilliant in net for St. Lawrence. You can see why they seem to have turned to him for their goaltending needs. With any luck for St. Lawrence, they can get him back in there and maybe start making some dents in that mountain that they now have to climb. Arthur Bry, the hard luck loser in net for the Saints. He also played rather well, 18 saves on 19 shots faced. The lone shot was in overtime on the power play. Overall, RPI 1 for 4 on the power play. St. Lawrence 0 for 3. Total shots on goal in this one, 44-20 in favor of the Engineers. So our offensive and defensive engineers of the game.
Offensive engineer of the game is going to go to Evan Tierney's after just that beautiful pass that put Billy Jerry's goal right in the net. And also, Evan Tierney's did not start out the game on the power play, but Coach Smith promoted him onto the power play as a extra forward later in the game, and I think that was due to his tenacious play in the neutral zone and just overall on the ice. So offensive engineer of the game goes to Evan Tierney's. And then defensive engineer of the game, I think I'm going to give it to Tommy Grant for just quality play along the boards all night long, never really forcing a pass that would cause a turnover, just staying strong in the defensive zone, digging the puck out of the corner and getting it up to his forwards. That would allow them to move quickly along in transition on the rush and create several opportunities in the offensive zone. So defensive engineer of the game goes to Tommy Grant.
Thank you, Joe. I'm going to run down the ECAC results this evening, and then we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Colgate defeated Brown by a score of 2-1. Dartmouth took down Quinnipiac at home 4-3. That keeps the Big Green 1 point ahead of the Engineers in the standings, but RPI was able to leapfrog Princeton in the standings. They are now 1 point ahead of the Tigers, who are in 11th. At least that's about to become a final. That is now a final. Harvard defeats Princeton by a score of 3-1. Clarkson defeated Union 4-1. The Golden Knights still unbeaten and untied in ECAC play coming into the Fieldhouse tomorrow night. And Cornell and Yale skated to a 3-3 tie in that one. So Cornell now alone in 2nd place. They are 3 points behind Clarkson. Union now falls into, I believe, into 4th place. Now that Harvard has won, they're ahead. Lots to shake out. Bottom line for RPI, they are alone in 10th, 1 point ahead of Princeton, 1 point behind Dartmouth and Brown. Yes, okay. That's all you really need to know. We would like to thank DJ Scooter back at the station for getting us on the air. We want to thank him for getting us back on the air when we dropped out in the 3rd period. Apologize for the technical difficulties that we had. Those will happen on live radio from time to time, so thank you for sticking with us. Thank you very much to Perry Lascaris for hooking us up with statistics during the game. We also want to thank the Rensselaer Union. They provide the funding for WRPI. And all the club-related activity of the Institute, including WRPI's coverage of RPI hockey, football, and baseball. Just a reminder, WRPI is on the World Wide Web. Point your browser to WRPI.org and pick up WRPI's broadcast 24/7 as long as WRPI is broadcasting. We provide that broadcast on our internet feed. Once again, that's WRPI.org. Our next WRPI sports broadcast will be tomorrow night from the Houston Fieldhouse as the high-flying Clarkson Golden Knights come into Houston Fieldhouse riding a 9-game winning streak in league play. They are completely undefeated and untied in league play. They're going places this year, but RPI will be looking to provide a roadblock for them tomorrow night. Puck drop for that game is at 7 o'clock, so our on-air time here at the Houston Fieldhouse will be at 6:45 p.m. So for Joe Piscicano, my name is Tom Reel. Final score from Houston Fieldhouse. In overtime, the Engineers pick up the victory over St. Lawrence by a score of 2-1. You're listening to live coverage. You've been listening to live coverage of Engineers hockey on 91.5 FM, WRPI Troy.